Let's dive into a wild manhwa, where a completely normal academy class turns into a hunt. Professor JRO brings out a rare crystal orb measuring device, looking for an absolute monster hiding right among these first years. Argon steps up first. Quality 4, quantity 17, already blowing past last year's average scores. Next is Furion. He hits quality 6 and quantity 20, making the whole room literally gasp. But then Damien, the sleepy kid, wakes up and touches the orb. Boom, he crushes their pride with quality 9 and an insane quantity of 67. Now, everyone stares at Asta. He wants to stay low-key, but the system hits 10, crosses the limit, and completely glitches out. Asta quickly forces a reset, faking a perfectly average quality 3 and quantity 15. There is a massive reason our main character is hiding his true legendary strength. Flashback to not long ago. Asta was a ruthless troubleshooter mage working for House Declan, and he ended up stealing a highly valuable tome. A squad of assassins tracks him down. He slaughters them all, leaving just one guy alive to torture for some much-needed answers. Pinning the hunter with raw magical pressure, Asta demands to know how this tome actually works. But the bleeding assassin swears he has no clue. Asta figures it out. Declan himself has no idea what this book is worth, or he never would have buried it in a dusty old basement. Yet they still violently chased him down for it. Despite Declan being completely clueless about its actual power, the terrified hunter begs Asta to just surrender the book, offering to help him plead for mercy from the family head. Asta rejects the pathetic offer. He looks the hunter dead in the eye, promising to end him. Now watch closely, because things get wild. A portal rips open behind him, unleashing an absolutely terrifying, overwhelming aura. That monstrous pressure belongs to an icy-looking guy gripping a cane. It's none other than Farron Declan himself, the supreme head of House Declan. Farron calmly tells Asta to hand over the stolen tome, suggesting they have a nice little chat right after. Asta feels totally suffocated by the raw power standing right before him. He worked as a cleaner for over 10 years, 5 of those serving House Declan directly. But this is the very first time he's ever laid eyes on the boss. House Declan rules the Eastern Continent's magical underworld. Rumor has it, this guy is the strongest mage to ever exist in their entire bloodline. Asta's survival instincts are screaming red alert, but he forces himself to play it cool. He straight up asks Farron if he plans to steal someone else's loot, calling the act totally shameless. Farron just laughs. Asta is sweating bullets though. The head of the family showing up in person? That means guaranteed death. Deep down, Asta admits the truth. Farron radiates the most crushing, overwhelming aura he has experienced in his entire life. Farron makes it crystal clear he could snap Asta's neck and take the book right now. But instead, he just wants to talk. He actually offers Asta his old job back at House Declan. If he returns, hands over the tome, and plays nice, all his past crimes will be completely wiped from the record. Farron admits Asta's talent is absolutely insane, and letting it go to waste would be a real tragedy. He's seriously impressed. Coming from the lawless gray zone, Asta still managed to master some top-tier, highly lethal magical techniques. Pouring on the sweet talk, Farron promises that Asta's potential will skyrocket if he just lets House Declan back his play. After listing off all these massive perks of returning to the family, Farron drops the ultimate condition: hand over the stolen tome. Shockingly, Asta smiles and agrees to the terms. Hearing this, the almighty Farron actually breathes a genuine sigh of relief. But wait, you and I both know Asta isn't surrendering. He drops his own condition, and it is absolute disrespect. He tells Farron to step down and hand over leadership of the entire house. Do that, and maybe he'll return the book. Just to prove his point, Asta instantly executes his hostage. This completely enrages Farron, who coldly states that Asta has just chosen the path of a very painful death. Asta knows the boss isn't bluffing here, but he charges in anyway. He launches a strike just to gauge the insane power gap between them. Farron easily deflects Asta's blue energy with a glowing red shield. Farron decides it's time for a harsh reality check. He needs to teach this arrogant kid that they are leagues apart in power. Looking completely effortless, Farron flares his dominant aura and blasts Asta backwards with a massive wave of raw magic. The heat nearly roasts Asta alive before he narrowly dodges. Reality hits him hard. The head of the house is an absolute monster. There isn't a single opening, 0 weak spots. And the split second Asta hesitates, Farron casually tags him with another devastating blast. Farron smirks. He tells Asta to stop trying to measure their strengths, because a bug can't measure the foot that crushes it. Suddenly, Asta is locked onto by a high-tier magical attack he physically cannot dodge. He gets absolutely flattened, but Farron clearly pulled his punch, making sure Asta knows it. He repeats that he isn't here to kill, just to have a conversation. Spitting blood, Asta asks what actually happens if he magically agrees to rejoin the family. Farron flat out says he wouldn't believe him. Asta grins, charging his magic. Trust me, you're going to want to see how this crazy fight ends. Let us dive into this wild story. Asta is totally done being a loyal attack dog. He pours everything he has into one massive magic attack, glowing bright like raw lightning. He leaps at Farron, screaming that he is never going back to his cage. But tragically, his absolute ultimate magic strike totally fails to even scratch Farron's insane defense. And now, Farron decides to show him what absolute power truly looks like. Boom! A devastating magic blast smashes into him, sending his life flashing right before his eyes. When he finally blinks awake, Farron is just standing over him, staring down like he is trash. Farron coldly asks if he finally understands the massive gap in their actual strength. Asta admits the guy is insanely strong. So, since they are talking, he asks if Farron is ready to let him be a simple troubleshooter again. But Farron smirks. He actually wants him to be way more than a mere mercenary. Get this, he wants Asta to become the head of the Bongshin family. Asta is completely stunned hearing this ridiculous offer from Farron. House Declan is an absolute beast, powerful enough to threaten the actual throne. Asta connects the dots. They want him leading that family just to force him into becoming their loyal vassal. He finally sees right through Farron's twisted little master plan. Without missing a beat, he reaches into his storage and pulls out the tome. Farron smiles like a villain. He actually wants both Asta and the book, happily assuming our boy is finally making the smart, obedient choice. Now watch closely. Just before Farron takes it, Asta completely sets the book on fire, leaving the boss absolutely speechless. Farron panics, demanding to know what he is doing. Asta just smirks, saying he never planned to hand it over. Furious, Farron promises him a slow, agonizing death. Asta finally drops the truth bomb. He never took this dangerous job for the money. He is totally enraged because Declan's young master literally devoured one of his teammates using dark, forbidden magic. Declan swept the whole murder under the rug. Farron is completely stunned, finally realizing Asta has been plotting a massive revenge mission this entire time. Asta makes it crystal clear. He just wanted brutal justice for his fallen comrade. He admits his recent rampage was basically his grand retirement party. Then, he drops his epic final words. The second he finishes, Farron engulfs him in furious flames, screaming at him to burn and regret everything. But even while burning alive, Asta yells right back, roaring that he has absolutely zero regrets. He was totally fine throwing his life away, just to avoid working for those scumbags at House Declan. As the massive flames consume him, he calls it freedom. He swears that if he ever gets reborn, he will execute his brutal revenge perfectly. Suddenly, everything goes weird, like time itself just froze. Asta is completely confused, but somehow, that burning magic tome is still glowing right in his hands. Magic circles suddenly explode across his entire body. That is the very last thing he sees before completely blacking out. When his eyes snap open, he is sitting in some filthy slum, dressed exactly like a street beggar. You and I both know what this means, right? Looking around, he realizes he actually traveled back in time to his brutal, impoverished childhood. Rushing to a lake, he stares at his reflection to confirm the insane truth. He is really back in his tiny, younger body. But get this, that fatal burn mark is still right there on his chest. He has zero clue how he traveled back, but he knows for a fact that the mysterious tome made it happen. He realizes that book must be god tier if the house leader personally hunted him down for it. Sadly, he hardly knows anything about its real power. So, he is flying blind. But hey, since he got a magical second chance at life, Asta decides it is finally time to totally crush the massive goals he failed before. He starts thinking about his ultimate endgame, a dream shared by his fallen comrade. He recalls discussing their tragic lower-class status. His friend always said their lives would not be this pathetic if they had just received a proper education. They would not be slaves to wealthy trash. That is exactly why Asta wanted to retire, just to build a massive library for the poor. He wants a grand place where anyone, no matter their money or status, can walk in and read completely free. Actually, he wants to go absolutely crazy and build a giant tower instead. He does not really need a tower. He just wants to flex and build one anyway. Plus, he is going to slap Declan's ultra-secret magic technique right on page 1. That way, even gray zone beggars can learn their overpowered skills. He laughs, imagining their absolute panic. Now, the only tiny problem left is actually stealing that legendary manual. He is totally loving his evil scheme when bam, a kick smashes his face. He turns to see some furious punk screaming at him. The jerk keeps kicking him, yelling that he saved a seat for Asta, but the kid was just completely missing in action. Asta barely remembers this loser, but our boy is completely done being treated like trash and violently grabs the dude's leg. Trust me, that is where we leave it for today. Alright, you and I are about to watch Asta take 7 brutal hits and swear to return the favor 70 times over. He throws a desperate punch right at the guy's chest, but his body is absolute trash, instantly spraining his own wrist. Asta is completely stunned, and while he is standing there frozen in total disbelief, a massive fist smashes right into his face. The absolute beatdown continues without mercy. Those heavy kicks are so insanely painful that Asta is literally moved to tears on the spot. He keeps taking damage until he spots a split-second opening, violently shoving the bully right into the lake. Before the guy can even recover, Asta sprints away. Crawling out of the water, the furious guy screams at him for running. But Asta yells back that it is not running, it is a brilliant tactical retreat. He firmly promises that he will never forget the guy's ugly mug. Being a veteran troubleshooter in his past life, Asta vows to remember every single hit. The word quit simply does not exist in his personal dictionary. Payback is definitely coming. Ducking into a dark alleyway, he glares down at his pathetically swollen wrist. He is furious that his current body broke just from throwing one punch. For now, Asta drops his grand ambitions, deciding he desperately needs to level up this incredibly weak, trashy physical form. Out of absolutely nowhere, a creepy kid with one glaring red eye asks if he is hungry. Startled by the sudden appearance, Asta cautiously asks if they know each other. But the weird boy casually replies that he has zero clue who Asta is. Judging by the kid's clean looks, Asta guesses he is some noble. Probably a high-class heir who lost everything during a nasty family power struggle. Asta immediately labels this guy as a walking disaster zone. The kid then cheerfully introduces himself as Damien. Freaked out by this strange kid staring and blurting out random things, Asta seriously has to ask if his mental state is actually holding together. Damien randomly announces he lacks a mom, and Asta fires back that he has no dad. It is like a bizarre competition to see who the ultimate orphan is. Wanting zero part of this mess, Asta harshly suggests they part ways right now. He refuses to get tangled up with a ticking time bomb like him. A few short moments later, Damien just stands there silently, creeping Asta out even more. Frustrated, he demands to know if the kid is ever going to leave. Shockingly, Damien declares he is tagging along. Asta gets an overwhelming urge to just smack the kid. Maybe a quick hit would actually reboot his broken brain. Instead, he firmly yells at Damien to back off. Right then, the weird kid reaches out and touches the nasty injury on Asta's head. Damien promises to fix it. Flashing a deeply unsettling smile, he summons a glowing magical circle that instantly bursts with warm, floating, healing particles. At first, Asta assumes it is just basic magic touch, but he quickly realizes how dangerously wrong he is. Now here is where you and I need to pay close attention. That is not basic magic, it is the healing light of House Blandor. House Blandor was totally wiped out by the Declan family. Asta is instantly sweating, realizing he just stumbled into a massively dangerous political crossfire. His mind races. Why the hell is a Blandor heir hiding in the slums? Wait a second. In this current timeline, the legendary Blandor family should still be incredibly powerful. Snapping out of it, Asta calls out Damien's name. The kid turns around excitedly, finally revealing his other eye a piercing bright green. Basically, the boy literally has 2 different eye colors. Seeing those mismatched eyes, a terrifying suppressed memory instantly crashes back into Asta's mind. This odd-eyed kid? He grows up to become the dreaded monster of Blandor, an insane, unkillable mad butcher who survives absolutely every execution attempt thrown at him. Finishing the heal, Damien randomly crouches down to countenance like an innocent toddler. Asta is left standing there, completely mind-blown and terrified. Back before his regression, during his old Troubleshooter days, his squad received direct orders from the Declans to raid the Blandor estate. Word was out that a horrific monster was rampaging through their own family home. You and I know how these missions go, right? They fully expected to face down a simple ogre or some basic giant beast. Instead, they breached the estate and stepped straight into a pure nightmare. It was Damien, tearing grown men apart with his bare hands. He spammed endless healing magic to keep them alive, laughing maniacally through the bloodbath. That horrifying day birthed his legendary title, the Monster of Blandor, the immortal butcher who laughs while soaking up lethal damage like it is absolutely nothing. Shaking off the heavy trauma, Asta desperately forces himself back to the present reality. He still cannot process why a direct Blandor descendant is standing in the dirt. As the sole heir to that massive empire, him wandering the gray zone makes zero sense. Right on cue, Damien breaks the heavy silence with a very random idea. He cheerfully declares they should go eat. The kid claims his mom said eating makes you strong. He innocently points out that Asta is only this weak because he has been skipping his daily meals. Defeated by toddler logic, Asta grudgingly admits the crazy little kid makes a completely valid point. Seeing a golden opportunity, Asta slickly asks if Damien has any cash. The kid nods, casually whipping out a heavy pouch stuffed with pure gold coins. Asta's face practically lights up with pure excitement. Without a second of hesitation, he loudly declares that he and Damien are now absolute best buddies. Damien is totally stunned, but Asta smooth talks his way in, insisting best friends always share their cash. Trust me, you and I are going to love this duo. Let's dive right in. Damien falls for his tricks completely. Asta suggests grabbing some grub, and Damien happily agrees. After crushing their meal, they crash at a safe shelter. Asta's stomach is completely full, a first for him. Damien is actually mind-blown that a whole house sits above their eating spot. He admits he's been sleeping outside, randomly adding that he doesn't have a dad. Asta corrects him, saying he definitely does, but Damien stubbornly refuses to listen. Asta then asks if he has a mom, but the kid flatly says no. Basically, if they aren't right next to him, he thinks they don't exist. Asta finally pieces this childish logic together and tries to wrap his head around it. When Asta asks how long he's been totally alone, Damien casually drops that he's slept exactly 10 times since running away from his family. Hearing about those 10 sleeps, Asta seriously wonders if someone is out there hunting the kid down. Asta assumes that means 10 whole days. But then Damien innocently mentions he takes naps, sometimes even catching some sleep twice in a single day. Yet, the grand total of all his naps is still just 10. Doing the math, Asta figures he's only been missing from his family for maybe 3 or 4 days. Watching Damien act like a totally normal kid makes Asta realize even monsters start out innocent. Since Damien is wandering alone, Asta decides to play the ultimate nanny, hoping to secure a powerful connection with the Blandor family. He absolutely knows this relationship will be a massive trump card when he finally clashes with the Declan family later. Still, Asta's mind is completely stuck on the punk who hit him 57 times. Before crashing for the night, Asta warns Damien to stay perfectly quiet. He has some serious personal business to take care of. Damien instantly figures out that Asta is getting ready to practice his breathing. In his past life, Asta built his magic foundation on absolute garbage. That's exactly why he used to sneak into noble estates just to steal their spells. He almost got himself killed multiple times doing that, but managed to snatch abilities like the hardened body spell used by elite knights. He grabbed a ton of others too, but it wasn't until he was literally staring at death that he discovered what true power looked like. Now watch closely. This time, he's aiming higher. The spell he's about to learn is Declan's ultimate foundational art, the Heavenly Origin technique. This legendary foundation lets a user perfectly absorb and handle every single attribute of mana. He originally memorized it just for research, but man, he is thrilled to actually use it now. It's known as the ultimate breathing technique. The second he activates it, boom. A massive wave of power erupts through his veins, feeling exactly like his body is burning in pure lava. The agony is completely off the charts, but Asta refuses to back down. Suddenly, he watches toxic impurities literally getting scorched out of his flesh. Turns out, this high-tier noble exclusive forces raw mana through the circuits, burning away all the junk. Asta completely loses himself in the intense process, quickly feeling like he's drowning in a massive mana pool. By the time he snaps out of the brutal torment, Damien is already fast asleep. He checks his circuits and is completely mind-blown. Not a single drop of impurity remains. On top of that, his mana is now ridiculously pure, way stronger than his previous life. But deep down, he knows this still isn't enough to crush Declan in a direct fight. Still, his winning odds just skyrocketed. Asta hypes himself up. He's a professional survivor who never quits. A bit later, he helps dye Damien's hair brown and completely swaps his clothes to keep the kid's real identity a secret. To finish off the new undercover look, he slaps a cool cap on him. Damien asks what the big plan is. Asta smirks. You and I know what's next. We're stepping out to cause absolute chaos. Almost instantly, Asta finds the punk who hit him 57 times. The second the guy spots him, he arrogantly demands to know where he's been hiding. But before this trash can even spit out another insult, Asta buries a devastating punch straight into his gut. A shockwave of pure agony rips through his entire body, knocking him out cold instantly. Asta genuinely feels proud of himself. He landed that strike in the absolute perfect spot. But hold up, Asta is nowhere near done. He fully intends to strike this guy 123 times. The rest of the house hears the massive commotion and rushes outside. They're completely stunned to see their youngest member at the center of all this madness. Deep down, Asta is already plotting the most vicious payback imaginable. Letting his raw fury explode, he launches forward and starts absolutely wrecking these guys. He funnels raw mana into his fists, making every single punch hurt exponentially worse. Damien just chills in the back, totally loving the show as Asta unleashes hell. Then, the kid makes things hilariously worse for the victims. He starts casting healing magic on them so Asta can keep beating them. Hilariously, the very first person he fully heals is Asta's main target. The bully actually thinks Damien is saving his life until Asta grabs him by the collar, violently reminding him about that massive 123 hit quota. Once his fists actually get tired from all the smashing, Asta casually switches things up and grabs some brutal canes. He whips the main guy so relentlessly, his skin is literally smoking. And trust me, you're gonna want to stick around, because he is still far from done. Stick with me, you and I are about to see pure madness. He forces Damien to heal him just to restart the beatdown. These victims aren't seeing kids. They are staring at pure, terrifying demons out for their blood. After going absolutely wild for the entire day, Asta finally decides to take a break. To make it even crazier, he actually thanks his victims. He used these guys as literal punching bags, and honestly, he is feeling incredibly satisfied right now. He landed over 100 brutal hits on each guy, totaling well over 1,000 strikes, and he is super proud of this combo. The battered leader politely begs Asta for permission to leave, and our guy casually agrees. But the guy quickly reminds Asta that they are actually standing in his house, basically hinting that Asta should be the one leaving. Asta instantly catches on. He unleashes an aura so ridiculously terrifying that the guy and his entire crew immediately cower back into a dark corner. Right then, Asta detects someone moving toward them fast. He can instantly tell this incoming guy is highly skilled, fighting exactly like a seasoned pro. That is when it finally hits him this deadly newcomer might be hunting Damien. He is completely shocked they tracked them down despite all his precautions. Asta knows he is in a terrible spot right now, but there is no way he is just going to sit back and let himself get ambushed. Thanks to his past life as an elite troubleshooter, he is completely used to insanely bad situations exactly like this. He instantly draws in every drop of mana around him, fiercely compressing it down. Now watch this closely. He forms a lethal mana bullet, aiming it right at the incoming target. He shoots, but the guy suddenly drops into a slick knee slide, perfectly dodging the blast while screaming out Damien's name and calling him Young Master. The dude slides right up to Damien, and shockingly, the kid recognizes him. Turns out, this absolute powerhouse is just the family butler, and his name is Alfredo. He tightly hugs Damien, but the annoyed kid yells at him to let go. Alfredo completely refuses, insisting he must bring his young master back home. Asta just stands perfectly still in the back, silently watching this incredibly awkward family drama unfold. He finally pieces together that Damien is a runaway heir. Once introductions wrap up, Alfredo invites Asta to tag along back to their massive estate, mostly because Damien genuinely likes him. Asta pauses for a solid minute to carefully weigh this offer. He knows this family holds insane prestige and power, but he really cannot read what their hidden motives might be. Still, he always wanted to build a solid connection, and since their massive territory sits right on his path to the main city, it works perfectly. Plus, the famous Zenon Academy is super close by. Its elite library is legendary, and Asta definitely wants to raid it for ideas to build his very own collection. After weighing his options, Asta fully accepts the ride. Before long, they finally arrive at the sprawling estate. Asta steps out of the carriage, taking in the fact that this is his first real visit here. Since the sun is completely down, Alfredo kindly suggests everyone get some sleep. He strictly orders the head maid, Lance, to watch them. Lance glares at Damien with terrifyingly cold eyes, and the kid instantly knows he is doomed. Later that exact same night, Alfredo reports directly to the terrifying matron, Gamo. Alfredo firmly updates the woman, explaining he tracked Damien down in the dangerous gray zone and safely returned him. You and I both know she's impulsive, right? She instantly fires off a raging attack spell before even checking if her son is safe. She drops a massive sigh of relief, and Alfredo matches her energy. He absolutely knew that harming Damien meant an instant, brutal death sentence for anyone foolish enough to try. Seriously, Gamma used to be feared as the literal Blood Witch. Her legendary rage is completely unstoppable. Gamo actually praises Alfredo for handling the messy situation. But right before the butler exits, he casually mentions one final detail. He reveals that Damien's new street friend, Asta, somehow sensed his hidden presence way before he ever revealed himself. Even crazier, the kid had a lightning-fast counterattack ready. Alfredo admits that Asta was literally aiming a highly compressed mana bullet right at his head. Gamma is genuinely blown away by this report. She openly admits that such raw combat talent is absolutely unheard of for a gray zone kid. Because of this potential, Alfredo confidently tells the fearsome matron he has one special favor to ask. Early the very next morning, Asta wakes up to Alfredo, boldly asking the boy to become his official successor. Asta is completely stunned by the massive offer, which honestly makes Alfredo sigh in relief. The veteran butler is 100% certain Asta will excitedly accept this incredibly rare, life-changing opportunity. But Alfredo's jaw drops when Asta casually rejects it entirely. The old butler seriously thinks his ears are broken right now. Even Damien is completely mind-blown seeing his new friend turn down such insane power. Asta openly admits it is a huge deal, but he firmly tells Alfredo that he genuinely prefers his current, completely free lifestyle instead. Alfredo instantly deduces that because Asta grew up surviving the gray zone using pure natural talent, so what do you and I make of this? Alfredo tries to completely shatter Asta's ego, loudly lecturing him about how massive the world is and how he knows absolutely nothing about true danger. Alfredo bluntly compares him to a weak canyon goblin, but Asta coolly corrects him, smirking and claiming he feels much more like a terrifying wyvern. Alfredo is absolutely speechless hearing this. Stick with me here. Alfredo decides to show Asta exactly what he means, dragging him straight to the butler training house. Alfredo puffs out his chest, incredibly proud to show off this grand spectacle. He brags that these kids are top-tier talents of House Blandor. Asta stares at the group. He actually admits their training is super strict, so much that they barely even act like normal kids. But honestly, he is still not impressed with this whole show. Asta casually mentions he can sense their aura, which instantly makes Alfredo grin from ear to ear. He pushes again. Is Asta finally ready to accept the offer? If he does, he could shine just as bright as these elite prodigies. Yeah, no. Asta shuts him down again, saying he absolutely hates the spotlight. But right then, a kid named Winster raises his hand. Winster steps up with a bold suggestion. He arrogantly claims Asta is totally talentless, and that is exactly why he rejected the offer. On top of that, he thinks Asta is just too weak to understand their greatness, and he really wants to teach him a lesson. Basically, he is demanding a direct duel. Alfredo can totally smell the massive ego on Winster, but surprisingly, he actually allows the fight. He turns to Asta. Is he up for it? Asta completely gets why this punk wants to throw hands. They all see him as competition. To them, he is just some lucky nobody who strolled in off the street and immediately got offered the chief butler successor role. Pure jealousy. Asta actually accepts the match, but he asks Alfredo one simple question. Can he pick? Alfredo tells him to go crazy, so Asta points right at Winster, and then casually points at 4 other top trainees. Watch closely. Everyone freezes when Asta demands a wild 5-on-1 fight. Winster literally cannot believe his eyes, but Asta coldly tells him he can run away right now if he is scared. Alfredo busts out laughing. He realizes Asta has the exact crazy confidence his successor needs. He asks if Asta is ready to back up his words, and Asta nods. The stakes are set. Alfredo promises a massive reward if he lasts 1 minute, but if he loses, he must become the official successor. Asta can hear the pure desperation in the old man's voice, but he doesn't care. With the crazy terms completely locked in, Alfredo orders them into the ring. The actual training instructor panics, nervously asking Alfredo if this is way too dangerous. Alfredo completely agrees it is risky, but says Asta needs his arrogance beaten out of him. The poor instructor is sweating bullets over this. He rushes straight over to Damon, desperately warning him that his friend is doomed. The instructor begs Damon to stop this madness. But shockingly, Damon is insanely hyped for the showdown. He even wants to jump in himself, but Lance says GMA will scold him. Alfredo then barks at the instructor to begin. Realizing he is totally helpless here, the instructor gives up. He tried his absolute best to prevent a total disaster. Lance notices the poor guy stressing out and leaves the room, firmly ordering Damon to stay put. Damon just flashes a massive grin, promising he will behave. The instructor finally approaches them. He lays down the ground rules. It is an absolute free-for-all match. The fight only stops when somebody officially surrenders. But he makes it super clear. He will stop the duel if things get deadly. Winster glares at Asta with pure, unbottled hatred. He is so ready to crush him and expose this total fraud. You saw that coming, right? The match starts. and Asta instantly buries a brutal mana-infused punch deep into Winster's gut. The impact sends the kid flying backward, violently coughing up spit. And in a literal flash, Asta completely floors the other 4 trainees. They are groaning in agony on the ground. Asta stares down at him like an absolute villain. He casually promises to give them an unforgettable, painful learning experience today. He says this while literally rolling pure mana bullets in his hand. Lesson number 1. Never, ever underestimate the quiet guy. Winster is absolutely terrified now. He realizes Asta is just casually tossing around high-level magic. He knows exactly how insanely hard that is to do. Asta keeps going. Lesson number 2 is to stop judging people based on looks. He proves his point by blasting Winster and his buddies with an insane barrage of bullets. They scream as the impact rips through them. Then comes lesson 3. The world is a massive, unforgiving place. Asta steps right up to Winster and drops him with one punch. He grins down at the broken trainees, promising personal tutoring on those exact lessons. Winster screams in pain, calling him an absolute maniac. The kid cries that he is not using magic, but Asta completely disagrees with that ridiculous claim. He kicks Winster square in the head, mockingly explaining that he is just using basic physical magic. I think you and I can agree here. Asta dragging these elite trainees around like broken puppets is absolutely legendary. Stick with me here, we are about to see Asta's true power. Alfredo is completely speechless, wondering how many times that magic bullet was compressed. Seeing the raw, destructive power, Alfredo quickly figures out those blasts were compressed at least 4 or 5 times. A terrifying thought hits him right then. If those mana bullets had struck him earlier during their clash, he would have taken massive damage. He finally gets that Asta has absolute control over his own mana. Plus, the kid is an absolute menace at throwing hands. In the back, Damien is literally healing the targets just so Asta can keep beating them up. Suddenly, Lance bursts into the room with Gammo. She calls Alfredo over instantly. Seeing the matron arrive, the beaten instructor breathes a massive sigh of relief. They are finally saved from this nightmare. Gammo demands an explanation from Alfredo, and he nervously confesses that this was all just a test. A test? Gammo cannot believe her eyes. Asta is absolutely destroying the trainees, while Damon just sits in the back providing healing support. Gammo immediately orders Alfredo to grab the trainees and tell them to retreat. She then tells Damon and Asta to go back to their rooms. Right after, she casually walks up to the instructor and completely fires him on the spot. Later that evening, Gammo confronts Alfredo, telling him he went way too far despite having good intentions. Alfredo totally owns up to his massive mistake and tells Gammo he will accept any punishment given. She asks if Asta got any help from Damien during the fight. Alfredo says nope, Asta is genuinely just that insanely good at throwing punches. Alfredo adds that Asta fired that magic bullet again. Only this time, he compressed the energy multiple times to massively boost its damage. Now pay attention here. Hearing this, Gammo realizes Asta has absolute godlike control over his mana. She might have missed the start, but she definitely saw Asta thrashing 5 trained fighters at once like it was absolutely nothing. Handling compressed magic is crazy hard, even for top-tier mages. She asks about the successor offer, but Alfredo admits Asta rejected it flat out without even a second thought. Gammo quickly realizes she needs to seriously reevaluate this kid's true potential. She orders Alfredo to bring Asta. Moments later, Asta meets her, but Damon is just chilling in the room eating cookies like a spoiled rich kid. Before saying a single word, Gammo slides a mysterious box across the table to Asta. Asta is caught off guard, but Gammo reminds him about the reward Alfredo promised him earlier. He is shocked that the matron herself prepared it. She tells him to open it up, and his jaw drops. It is an incredibly high-grade luxury item. Asta is stunned, because inside the legendary Blander family, only the top 5 Mage Division recruits get this. Instantly, his guard goes up. He suspects there is a massive string attached here. Reading his mind perfectly, Gammo smiles and tells him to take the gift without worrying about any hidden traps. She explains it is a reward for helping her son in the gray zone, and an apology for the crazy mess that happened earlier today. Asta is not falling for it yet. He flat out asks if eating this item legally forces him to join the Blander family right now. She says no. He then asks if the thing is poisoned, but she just gives the same calm answer. Asta is completely mind-blown that there are 0 hidden conditions attached. He finally drops his guard and thanks the lady for it. I know what you are thinking. A catch, right? Well, Gammo mentions a proposal, and Asta realizes his suspicions were completely valid. Gammo reveals her master plan, getting Asta admitted into the elite academy alongside Damien this year. Asta is totally confused. Gamo explains Damen was supposed to enroll last year but violently refused, so they had to delay it until this current term. But honestly, she never expected her own son to actually run away again. She knows Damon respects Asta, which is exactly why she is making this offer now. Asta figures out Gamo is doing whatever it takes to keep Damon enrolled, because forcing him means he will just bolt again. Still, Asta sees this as a seriously rare opportunity for himself. Since the elite academy will give him insane networking connections, he figures it is a solid idea. It is a massive win, but honestly, it still feels like someone is putting a heavy collar on him. He plays it cool and says he will think about it. Gamo respects his choice and calmly lets him know she will be waiting for his final answer. Then, she suddenly asks why he rejected the huge offer to become Alfredo's successor. Asta totally senses Alfredo eavesdropping right now, so he decides to be petty. He just says his knees are way too precious to him. Basically, he refuses to bow down to anyone. That savage reply hits the hiding butler right in the chest through the door. Back in his room, Asta consumes the elite item, absolutely amazed by the massive changes exploding throughout his entire body. Just absorbing 10% of it skyrockets his mana reserves. Plus, his physical body is literally evolving into a flameborn type. Asta is amazed that this item leaves 0 impurities. Trust me, we are definitely going to want to see what happens next. As for that academy offer, he has already given it some serious thought and made his choice. You and I both know the academy is a golden ticket to finding a solid sponsor. There are huge perks to joining, sure, but he still feels like he is walking straight into a trap. Shaking it off, Asta decides to go for a run. Stepping out of his room, he suddenly hears someone calling his name. Asta spins around to see who it is, immediately noticing the guy's flashy platinum blonde hair. Seeing those locks, Asta figures this dude must be a direct relative of Damen. Naturally, Asta plays it cool and lies straight to his face, claiming wrong guy. The blonde guy is completely thrown off, since the person standing right in front of him looks exactly like the description. Asta doubles down on his lie, casually explaining that lighting can totally change a person's hair color, so appearances can be super deceiving. Falling for it, the guy assumes he messed up. He turns around to leave, awkwardly apologizing for the whole mix-up. But right on cue, Alfredo rushes over, loudly dropping Asta's name at the absolute worst possible time to discuss that butler gig. Thanks to Alfredo's big mouth, Asta's real identity is completely exposed to the strange dude who was just walking away. The guy immediately whips back around, smugly declaring he knew it because of Asta's annoying face. With his cover totally blown, Asta gives up the act and finally admits that he is indeed the guy they want. This absolutely infuriates the blonde brat, but noticing Alfredo standing right there, he decides to temporarily back off. Before leaving, he dares Asta to meet him at the mage hall later for a brutal lesson in manners. Once he is gone, Alfredo asks if everything is okay. Asta brushes it off with a no, but deep down, he was dying for a fight. Now watch this. Asta sees this arrogant kid as the perfect punching bag and fully plans to wreck him later. Pivoting, Asta asks Alfredo if he can see Gamo right now. The butler quickly escorts him straight to her office. Gamo is totally caught off guard by the early morning visit. She asks if he has finally made a decision about their previous chat. Surprisingly, Asta looks her in the eye and confirms he will be enrolling in the academy. Hearing this, Gamo is absolutely stunned, but you can see her massive relief. She promises to get everything prepared immediately. Asta heads out, and Alfredo immediately steps into the room. The butler eagerly asks for the verdict, and she confirms the kid accepted. Alfredo is practically cheering, celebrating this huge victory. Here is their sneaky plan: they will cover his first semester fees, but when the second semester hits, Asta will be totally broke. Alfredo bets Asta will get desperate because the kid is hungry to keep learning magic. That is when Alfredo plans to swoop in like a savior. Gamo quickly scolds him, telling the noisy butler to keep it down. Alfredo apologizes and heads off to prep breakfast. Watching him leave, Gamo fully understands why the old man is so giddy. He finally sees a solid opening to mold Asta into his ultimate successor. But honestly, you and I can see it as a sloppy setup. But Alfredo feels confident, since the former head butler trapped him the exact same way. Later, Asta makes his way to the mage hall, right where that arrogant jerk told him to go. He cracks the door open to find a hooded mage, who immediately demands to know why he is there. Since Asta literally never learned the brat's name, he awkwardly stutters. Suddenly, the mage gets super excited, claiming he has been waiting for him. He tells Asta to follow along, leading him to another room while warning him to watch his head. Walking inside, Asta gets absolutely swarmed by flying magical notes. Now he gets why the guy told him to duck. He bumps into a guy who introduces himself as Wenji von Blondor. Wenji asks if Asta is here to see his little brother. Asta is totally lost, wondering if that annoying kid earlier is related to him. But get this, Asta actually knows a major secret about mages from his past life. There is one hilarious trait they all share. It starts with crazy, disheveled hair, and from the stress, they eventually pull it out until it stops growing. Asta has mentally broken this tragedy into 3 distinct stages. Stage 1, heavy denial, hiding their thinning hair under big robes. Stage 2, they give up and let the shiny bald patch show for the world to see. Then comes the painful 3rd stage, where they face reality and just shave everything completely off. But the mythical 4th stage is where they go crazy, researching ways to make hair growth possible again. They constantly test out magic to restore their lost locks, but literally no one has ever pulled it off. Amazingly though, none of these baldness signs apply to Wenji, who stands there looking completely healthy and confident. Wenji apologizes for his brother. Asta asks if he works at the academy. Trust me, you will love what comes next. Alright, stick with me here. G casually reveals he is the vice dean, pouring Asta a drink. Asta is honestly impressed. Someone like G holding that kind of title at the academy? Crazy. He knows G must be seriously skilled since family connections alone cannot buy that spot. G just chuckles, teasing Asta for being such an unusual kid. Then, G drops a hint. He knows Asta was pushed to join the Zenon Academy, which is an absolutely massive deal in this world. G offers his congratulations, calling it the perfect chance for him to level up his skills. He even brags a bit, mentioning he is a proud graduate from the 145th class. But Asta? Completely deadpan. He literally never asked for this guy's entire unprompted life story. Catching the awkward vibe, G quickly apologizes, blaming his nervous excitement for all the random rambling. Time to get down to business. But before dropping the main topic, G needs to confirm one very specific, very dangerous detail with him. Would he risk his actual life for a friend? Asta just stares, totally thrown off. G explains this involves the very survival of the Blondor family, pulling a mysterious book from his spatial storage. Watch closely here. Asta is utterly shocked seeing that tome. G promises to hand it over if he risks it all. That book is the Blondor family's ultimate secret technique, the healing light. Cut to Gammo tending her garden, quietly thinking about Damien entering the academy. She is so relieved it went smoothly. She sees Asta as an incredibly loyal friend to Damien. Even if Alfredo calls the kid a total jerk sometimes, Gammo trusts his good nature. Honestly, every teenager has their shameless moments anyway. She absolutely loves that finding out about Damien's heavy background changed nothing about Asta's attitude. People like him are incredibly rare. That is exactly why she wants Asta watching her son's back forever. But Gammo accepts one harsh reality. Asta is a wild bird, totally impossible to lock inside a cage. Still, she is plotting every possible method to keep this boy close. For Damien's sake, she will try anything. Back at the hall, Asta is deeply suspicious about being handed this elite family secret. He carefully analyzes the room. Is this an elaborate trap? G tries reading Asta too, but hits a brick wall. The kid shows zero emotion, hiding his true intentions behind an absolutely perfect mask. G warns him to think very carefully. Don't let the shiny reward blind you to the massive danger ahead. Without missing a beat, Asta prepares to drop his answer. His logic is simple: if the task is doable, he is in. If it is impossible, he walks away. No stress. I know what you're thinking, easy deal, right? But Ouija smiles. Just hearing this secret puts a target on his back. Refuse, and Ouija kills him. Zero panic. Asta casually replies that we can try killing him, since everyone only lives once anyway, even though this is literally his second time living. G instantly unleashes a terrifying heavy aura. Asta doesn't even blink. Seeing the kid completely unfazed, G grins. He just passed the hidden test. He desperately needs a trustworthy ally, but it strictly cannot be anyone from his own family. He mutters some nonsense before finally spilling his real, dangerous intentions. This isn't some generic internal clan war. His family is actually tight-knit. The real problem? He is being heavily monitored by the dangerous Declan family. Asta raises an eyebrow, asking why on earth the Declan clan is spying on him. Since Asta basically laughed at death earlier, Wee finally reveals his massive, life-threatening dilemma. Turns out, he has been secretly researching the Declan's origin magic, and he just hit a breakthrough. He somehow got his hands on their exclusive Heavenly Origins magic, which is incredibly illegal. Alarm bells ring in Asta's head. He is literally sitting across from a walking dead man right now. He then asks G if he is studying it just to destroy it. Nope. G proudly admits he actually found a way to upgrade their secret art into absolute perfection. Asta mentally sighs. Yep, this guy is a total lunatic with zero survival instincts. Just pure madness. G just shrugs, claiming the temptation to experiment was way too strong to resist. Classic mad scientist. Asta thinks he is insane, but suddenly, the puzzle pieces in his head start clicking together perfectly. In his previous life, while Declan slaughtered the Blondor clan, G was busy researching the 10,000 circle. So what do you and I take from this? Declan wiped them out precisely because he feared the insane power of that 10,000 circle. Let's jump right in. It finally hits him. Declan probably absorbed that power, explaining his insane, monster-level strength. G then asks Asta for a huge favor to push his wild research to the absolute limit. Naturally, Asta questions why WG specifically picked him for this mission. G admits he couldn't take this research to his family. Why? He suspects a rat is hiding among them, and he just cannot track the traitor down. Asta casually guesses it could be a secretary, but G immediately shuts that down. He figures the leak is definitely tied to the acquisition route. G reveals he took drastic steps the second he knew he was compromised. Asta then asks the obvious, why not just join Declan's side? It is clearly the safer bet, and they would welcome him with open arms. But Wee makes it clear he has his own deeply personal reasons for staying away. Because Asta has zero ties to the Blondor family, G sees him as the absolute perfect wildcard for this. He then drops the bomb. It is a joint research project, but he is completely stuck right now. G promises a massive payout. He just needs Asta to sneak this thesis over to Professor Perun at Zenon Academy. The reward? The legendary healing light spell. Asta instantly smells an epic opportunity and grabs it. But get this, Asta proposes a way better deal. He wants the healing light spell up front as compensation, plus the 1,000 circle technique the second G finishes it. Our guy is literally going double or nothing. Now watch this closely. Wee calls him a shameless jerk, but since this mission is life or death, he is forced to agree. He swears to hand over the spell upon completion, but Wee adds one strict condition too. Asta has to physically help him out before the whole project is done. And Asta? He casually smiles and says that is no problem. Grabbing the thesis, Asta jokes that he cannot even read, before laughing and saying he is just messing around. Then things get serious. Asta looks at G and asks if this Professor Perun can actually be trusted. G admits he and Perun were academy classmates, and they have basically been bitter rivals forever. They constantly tried to destroy each other, but that rivalry died when G went back to his family. Asta cannot believe he is about to meet another complete lunatic at the academy. Back in his room, Asta finds a massive stack of books delivered from G. There is also a letter attached. It perfectly details the exact reading order Asta needs to follow to rapidly and properly cultivate his magic knowledge, wasting absolutely zero time. Asta starts organizing the books, fully admitting to himself that Jay is an absolute genius. He then drafts a priority list of book sponsors, putting Jay right at the very top. Asta actually plans to place the Healing Light book in his future magic tower. This would let absolutely anyone read it, though he knows he has to talk Damien into this later. I know what you are thinking. He will totally use friend privilege to make Damien do it. Asta is already super proud of his massive dream to teach everyone magic. Asta considers meeting G a massive, crucial turning point. Meanwhile, G is equally thrilled, seeing Asta as an incredibly useful piece on the board who has completely caught his interest. Plus, he is completely blown away that Asta did not even flinch at the threat of death. Sure, it was just a threat, but Asta showing absolutely zero fear only made Jui crave his potential more. G looked right into Asta's eyes and saw a beast who truly does not fear dying. G is beyond hyped to find a genuinely useful asset instead of the usual trash he works with. He senses Asta is hiding some dark secrets, but honestly, he completely loves that. He basically looks at Asta and sees a monster sharing his exact same twisted dream. Soon after, Asta gets ready for the academy. He packs up and throws on the official uniform. Lance arrives at his room to pick him up, explaining he just needs to clear a quick document registration once he gets to the academy gates. Lance drops the news. He and Damien are completely exempt from the entrance exams. Lance compliments his fresh fit, saying it looks sharp. Asta plays the perfect gentleman and smoothly thanks her for the kind words. Thinking about their lucky exemption, Asta quickly realizes this is just a sweet perk for the ultra-prestigious families. They call it a special admission, and Asta is incredibly hyped to milk it. Asta hits the carriage where Damien and his mom are waiting. She tells the boys to stay extremely safe at the academy, and Asta respectfully agrees. Gamma warmly adds that she is praying for him to achieve every single crazy goal he desires. Smiling, Asta thanks her. But deep down, he is absolutely ready to crush it. The academy is packed with insane opportunities, and he wants all of them. Plus, he cannot wait to finally meet his so-called beloved classmates. Riding to the academy, Asta cracks open that sweet light spellbook G handed over. He loves how WG simplified the complex noble techniques. That's where we leave it, trust me. You'll want to see what happens next. Let's dive in together. Asta actually thinks WJ's interpretation perfectly matches Declan's celestial principle. Before long, they finally pull up. Asta just stares out the window, taking in the legendary Zenon Academy. Lancency turns back and announces that this is the final stop for their carriage ride. The founder had one strict rule. No matter how rich you are, every new student walks the rest of the way. Lancency lets the boys know this is where they part ways. She gives a warm smile, wishing them luck inside the academy. The second they step out of the carriage, Damon grabs Asta in a total panic. He yells that they need to sprint to the entrance ceremony, terrified there won't be seats left if they drag their feet. Asta is absolutely dumbfounded. This is a massive academy, not some cheap village theater where you fight for front row spots. But then it finally clicks in his head. Lancency obviously made up the fake seat rule as bait, just to magically trick Damon into actually moving his feet for once. Asta just sighs and decides to play along with the joke, at least this one time. They finally reach the massive ceremony hall, and Damon is completely blown away by the absolute sea of students crowding the place. Honestly, half the room is totally empty. But Damon still blindly believes they would be standing if they were even a second late. Asta just shakes his head, completely amazed that his friend is still clueless about being so easily played. Now here is where you and I just have to laugh. Asta pulls out their seat tickets, but Damon simply points randomly across the massive hall, leaving his buddy completely confused. He cannot comprehend why Damon is suddenly acting so hyped to be at this academy, especially since the guy was literally trying to run away earlier. Suddenly, Damon crashes hard into another student, a massive, towering giant named Exter. This huge dude glares down at Damon like he is a bug. Asta quickly pulls his friend up from the floor, checking if he is hurt. Damon brushes it off, telling Asta he is perfectly fine. He admits it was totally his own fault for not watching his step. They try to walk away, but Exter aggressively blocks them. Turns out, Damon accidentally left a nasty saliva stain on the giant's clothes. Asta is still processing everything when Damon suddenly rushes over. He tries to wipe the stain, but ends up rubbing even more saliva into the fabric. This pushes Exter completely over the edge. Furious, he throws a massive punch straight at Damon. Boom! Asta casually blocks the heavy hit before it touches his friend. He coldly warns the giant to drop the tantrum before he does something stupid. Exter furiously demands to know who Asta is. Damon proudly yells back that Asta is his best friend. Asta nods along. The giant finally understands why he stepped in, but Exter violently promises Asta that he is going to heavily regret getting involved. Asta already sees the fight coming from a mile away, and he honestly does not care. It is obvious, Exter only speaks with his fists, not his words. Naturally, the rising tension immediately grabs the attention of every single student nearby. Turns out, Exter is a direct descendant of the famous Delumpy noble family. You and I both know how these crowds work. Everyone is placing bets, fully believing the giant noble is going to easily win this crazy fight. Off to the side, one nervous student tries to step in and stop the trio before things escalate into a total bloodbath. He argues that it is way too crowded in the room for a proper brawl. But then, another mage casually snaps a protective barrier around the three of them, giving them the perfect arena to go wild. The crowd goes absolutely crazy. Almost everyone starts hyping Exter up, screaming at him to secure an easy victory. Meanwhile, there is a creepy student in the distance staying out of it, just smiling like he already knows the absolute chaos that is about to drop. Inside the barrier, Exter arrogantly introduces himself and orders Asta to do the same. Asta just smirks, coldly replying that he has zero noble blood. He tells Exter to treat him like some random nobody passing by. Feeling cocky, the giant offers Asta a free first strike, assuming he is just a weak mage. Asta actually laughs out loud at that and mockingly teases the giant. That level of disrespect makes Exter snap. He charges forward like an absolute maniac. Calmly, Asta reminds the big guy that it is a 2-on-1 fight. Swish! Asta smoothly dodges the swing, instantly countering with a devastating punch to Exter's face, sending him flying backward. Exter is reeling in pure shock. The sheer, crushing weight behind that strike was insane. He instantly starts doubting if this kid is really just a simple magician. Suddenly, the giant realizes Damon just casually cast a healing spell on his injuries. He is totally confused about why the enemy would heal him. Little does he know, he is about to experience the most brutal nightmare of his life. While he is distracted, Asta closes the gap and buries another savage punch into his gut. In seconds, a merciless flurry of heavy blows rains down. Then, the horrifying reality finally clicks. One guy beats him to a pulp, while the other heals him right back up. He realizes with absolute horror that he just picked a fight with two absolute psychopaths. For the first time ever, Exter feels genuine, terrifying fear. So where does this leave us? The clueless crowd actually starts cheering Exter on, loudly screaming for their noble warrior hope to stop holding back. Stick with me here. Exter finally snaps back into action. He absolutely loses it, calling Asta just a weak magician. He throws a massive punch, but Asta easily sidesteps the attack like it's nothing. Asta actually praises the effort, but Exter just screams back, totally furious. Going all out, he throws another wild right hook, and this time, direct hit. Asta goes flying backward. The crowd goes completely nuts, cheering that Exter is finally fighting back. But look at Exter. He is not celebrating. He knows he landed that massive punch, but the impact felt way too light, almost weightless. Mid-air, Asta just casually flips his body and lands perfectly on his feet. Exter is completely stunned, but shakes it off and charges in again. Meanwhile, Asta turns around and spots Damien, who is literally still casting healing magic on Exter. Because of that healing buff, fighting a long battle is pointless. Asta realizes he has to end this right here, right now. One single strike. To pull this off, he taps into a legendary technique developed with his old crew in his past life. By slamming magical particles together, he extracts raw, explosive energy. It uses mana, sure, but calling this just magic or martial arts? Not even close. This is absolute next-level control over pure magical properties. Now watch this closely. Asta waits until Exter is inches away, and then, he releases the attack right into him. A massive shockwave erupts, blinding the entire crowd and shattering the protective barrier. Every single student is frozen, trying to process what Asta just did. Then, the giant Exter just violently crashes down, completely unconscious. Pure, absolute silence. Nobody can comprehend that the Academy's powerhouse just got dropped by one single punch. Asta calmly raises his hand in victory, and the whole crowd suddenly erupts into massive cheers. After a brutal beatdown like that, everyone is seriously questioning if this guy is actually just a normal magician. Damien is super hyped about their victory, getting a well-deserved head pat from Asta. Meanwhile, that mysterious guy watching from afar, he just smirks, keeping his eyes locked on Asta. But the fun ends fast. A teacher bursts onto the scene to shut down the chaos, completely furious that students are already brawling on their very first day. He angrily demands to know who started it. But the crowd loved the show, so nobody snitches. Asta is instantly plotting a smooth, quiet escape, but his buddy Damien completely ruins it with his chaotic energy. We have all had a friend like this, right? Damien loudly confesses that they caused the trouble. Asta just shuts his eyes in pure pain and frustration as the angry teacher approaches. While the giant Exter is still sleeping on the pavement, our chaotic duo gets dragged straight into the office for a massive scolding. Surprisingly, the teacher lets them off the hook since Damien confessed so easily. Plus, after checking Exter, he didn't actually suffer any permanent damage. They head back to the main hall, lucky to find the opening ceremony hasn't started. But walking in, every single student is staring right at them after that crazy fight. The rumor mill is wild. Nobody can believe this skinny guy actually crushed a martial artist. Asta tries to look cool and low-key, but Damien is waving at everyone like an absolute celebrity. Asta is just dying inside, hating all this completely unwanted attention. He is begging Damien to stop waving like a total idiot. After navigating the crowd, they finally manage to find their assigned seats. Soon after, the Academy headmaster, this tiny old guy with white hair, steps up to speak. Minutes drag on, and the old man's aura doesn't drop for a second. Asta is honestly pretty impressed by his incredible stamina. But Damien? He is completely passed out and drooling everywhere. Asta has to physically yank him up before he makes an absolute mess. The headmaster is barely getting into his speech when a staff member rushes over, whispering that an urgent situation needs his attention immediately. He clearly wants to ignore it. But after hearing the details, he has absolutely no choice but to end his speech and hand over the stage. A bright-haired woman stomps up to the podium, and her sudden, commanding voice literally terrifies the entire room. Even the sleeping Damien jolts awake from her intense, thunderous yelling. She introduces herself as Instructor Jara, glaring at the crowd and announcing she will be taking over the rest of the ceremony. Jara decides to start with the freshman oath. The first student she calls to the stage? The Magic Division representative, Dahlia Denai. Whispers instantly break out. The students are completely shocked, never expecting a member of the elite Denai family to be here. Haters start gossiping that maybe she lacks talent and was forced to test in, while others quickly jump to her defense. They argue her powerful family would never let a weakling take the exam. Meanwhile, Asta just stares. He already knows exactly who Dahlia really is. Trust me on this one. The Denai family is the second most legendary house around. Stick with me here. Meet Dahlia, future top mage for the second-ranked Denai faction. Asta admits she is seriously talented, especially since she helped him out before. But their vibe? Pure chaos. They clash so hard that everyone basically calls them absolute frenemies. Still, Asta just smirks. Honestly, he is actually thrilled that Dahlia ended up joining his exact class this year. As Dahlia steps onto the stage, attention shifts to the martial arts division representative Paul. Hearing no family surname announced, Asta immediately connects the dots. This guy definitely isn't a noble, and he clearly doesn't come from any sort of prestigious, high-tier background either. The two finish up their formal oaths and calmly make their way back to their seats. Next up, the academy staff announces that it is time to officially introduce the new class professors. They call the elite teachers forward. Meanwhile, Dahlia walks down the stairs and locks eyes dead center with Asta. He completely freezes, totally shocked that she is staring right at him. But then, she misses her step. She tumbles down the stairs in pure, absolute embarrassment. Right at that awkward moment, Professor Perun of Basic Magic Principles steps up. Asta immediately senses this guy is way different from G. Still, he holds back on making any snap judgments just yet. Ceremony over. The staff orders all the students to head straight to their newly assigned dormitories. Damon finally wakes up, and Asta goes straight for a brutal prank deadpan, telling him he got expelled for sleeping through everything. Damon completely loses it, screaming at the absolute top of his lungs in panic. Walking to his dorm, Asta actually half regrets pulling that joke. He definitely was not expecting Damon to screech loud enough to wake the dead. Asta finally enters his room, and wow, the place is seriously high-end. There is even a massive stack of living supplies neatly packed in the corner for them. Now watch closely. Just as Asta unpacks, his new roommate Paul suddenly walks through the door. Asta is caught off guard by Paul's absolutely freezing aura. The guy looks completely detached before finally opening his mouth. He instantly tells Asta to stay perfectly quiet, making it crystal clear that he is not here to play nice or make friends. Paul brutally adds that he does not care what Asta does, as long as his nonsense does not cross into his space. He honestly prefers they never speak again after today. But Asta? He never backs down. Not scared of a single soul, Asta immediately locks eyes for an intense, silent stare-down. Asta's dead silence completely triggers Paul. The martial artist snaps, demanding to know why he is not answering. Internally, Asta is just analyzing the guy. Paul entered as the absolute top student, right? So Asta decides to test those reflexes with a sudden, fake dash forward. In a flash, Paul reaches for his blade. Asta instantly recognizes that flawless, expert-level stance. His grip? Perfect. The guy is a total pro. Right then, Damon's loud voice suddenly rings out from the hallway. Asta simply smiles like nothing happened. He tells Paul to go ahead and do whatever the heck he wants. Playing on the whole mind your business rule, Asta jokingly warns that he might start blasting songs past midnight. Leaving a very confused and irritated Paul behind, Asta casually swaggers right out. We both know Asta is totally lying when he tells a shocked Damon he has zero clue about his roommate. Damon thankfully drops it and excitedly suggests a full tour of the academy grounds. There is just way too much to explore. The kid literally wants to see every single inch of the campus on day one. This academy is absolutely massive. Students are strictly warned to memorize the wild layout fast, or they will definitely get lost wandering around. Sounds like a headache, but Asta agrees. He has a hidden motive anyway. He wants to secretly scout exactly how many academy troubleshooters are patrolling. They hit the campus paths. Soon, they stumble upon a massive lake, and Damon loses his mind in pure awe. Watching this, Asta suddenly realizes exactly why Lance was forced to babysit this overexcited man-child constantly. Tired of the hype, Asta sarcastically tells Damon to just have his rich family dig a giant lake at their own estate. He jokes that it is literally just digging a massive hole and adding water. Damon actually takes this seriously. He gets hyped, declaring he will force his family to build a lake twice as big as this one. Pondering an epic name for it, he dramatically decides to call it Blood, Sweat, and Tears. They spot a wicked-looking statue next, and Asta pushes it further, telling Damon to order one of those too. Asta keeps feeding his delusions, totally suggesting a giant dragon statue because the carved scales would look absolutely incredible in the sun. Meanwhile, back home, Lance suddenly gets a random shiver down her spine, wondering what disaster is brewing. Their tour finally wraps up as they head back. But during all that sightseeing, Asta managed to secretly track 7 hidden troubleshooters. He rounds it up to 10 total, and trust me, you will want to see what he plans next. Alright, stick with me here. His calculations prove Perun's laboratory is actually in the second magic hall. He quickly pieces it all together. The ruthless troubleshooters are definitely coming straight for Perun. Declan already knows Wee has powerful allies, so they naturally started suspecting Perun since he is right in the area. Asta wondered why they were not tailing Perun earlier, but soon realized they made their move at the perfect moment. Asta decides to take matters into his own hands to see what they know. He slides into the perfect hiding spot to eavesdrop on 2 passing troubleshooters. The first troubleshooter mentions that headquarters just dropped an emergency directive, ordering them to gather at the target's nest immediately. The second guy asks if they are hunting the main target or the sub. The first replies they are strictly going after the sub. Their goal? Deliver the objective to the sub-target right before midnight. The second guy realizes that since we made a move, Perun is definitely their target. However, he is visibly worried about fighting the school professors, admitting they are outmatched. The first then confirms that Declan himself will not be showing up. But before the panic sets in, he drops a massive bomb. The fire demon Callahan is joining the raid. This absolutely shocks the second guy because Callahan is the vice leader of the Red Jewel. This guarantees their operation has some heavy backup, proving Declan is willing to cross any line for this mission. But at the exact same time, it means these troubleshooters are entirely disposable. They would easily be sacrificed just to make sure the mission totally succeeds. Even though the duo is terrified, they literally have no choice but to do their jobs. The two finally move out to join the rest of their squad, making sure they have the numbers for a bloodbath. But completely unknown to them both, now pay attention here. Asta heard every single word, totally stunned that a monster like Callahan is joining the mission. Asta remembers Callahan is absolutely not someone to mess with. Even back when he was just a regular troubleshooter, the guy was already in his terrifying prime. After the Declan family staked their very survival on a battle against the Blander family, Callahan remained fiercely loyal to the crumbling house, showing his insane devotion. Though he is incredibly dangerous now, he truly hit his peak right after the Blandor family war. He carved his name into history as a legendary war mage, using a deadly fire that is simply unstoppable. Since Callahan is coming, Asta realizes capturing him is the ultimate prize. He knows Callahan uses one of Declan's legendary, high-tier flame arts. Even though the danger is massive, Asta believes the insane reward completely outweighs any deadly risk. He is genuinely thrilled with how perfectly things are going. However, a massive detail remains. The thesis everyone is desperately hunting for is actually with him, not with Perun. Since they are still targeting Perun, he starts wondering if the thesis he holds is actually fake. This also proves the one being delivered today is a complete trap. You saw this coming, right? Back in the dorms, Paul suits up, revealing he is actually an undercover troubleshooter. He assumes Asta is fast asleep, but unknown to him, the guy in that bed is nothing but a dummy. Meanwhile, Perun sits in his study. He immediately senses the troubleshooters because they foolishly stepped right into his territory. He wonders why they are bold enough to infiltrate the academy. Suddenly, it clicks the one walking towards him right now is a mercenary. And surprisingly, it is Paul. Perun recognizes him instantly just by feeling his unique aura. He coldly offers a piece of advice, telling the kid to refine his ether's traits next time. That is, if he even survives to see a next time. Paul hands over an envelope, and Perun instantly figures out Wee sent it. He wonders what kind of mind game Wee is playing, analyzing the different twisted traps he might be using. Boom! The door absolutely explodes. Callahan casually strolls in, leaving Paul terrified while Perun just sits there calmly. Callahan looks at Paul's terrified expression, immediately knowing the kid is fully aware of the sheer destruction he brings. Callahan then slowly turns to Perun, asking if the professor has heard of him too, but Perun just coldly says no. He finally stands up, demanding Callahan get straight to the point. This massively pisses the demon off, but before raging, he laughs, admitting no one has ever disrespected him like this before. Callahan decides to lay out his brutal terms. First rule of the night? He wants Paul completely dead. He then glares at Perun, casually stating he plans to leave him with only one arm and one eye. Callahan instantly blasts a fireball, but Perun blocks it with a huge ice counter. A massive explosion violently rocks the entire academy building. Perun calmly turns to Paul, telling him he has to protect his own life. Right now, Perun sees a mercenary, not a student. Paul has zero complaints about this, whipping out his sword, ready for a fight. So what do you and I make of this? With a blackout spell completely muting the alarms, Perun and Paul are now absolutely trapped in a deathmatch. Callahan spots the envelope sitting right there. Stick with me here, because that letter from the Trash Blander family is exactly the prize he came to steal. Perun absolutely refuses to hand it over, so Callahan decides to go completely all out. He drops a massive flame spell, literally shaking the earth, but Perun stays ice cold, preparing his freezing powers to perfectly counter any blazing attack Callahan throws his way. Right then, the backup troubleshooters start closing in. Pun finally stops playing around, launching a devastating strike that practically tears the entire building to pieces. Watching all this madness from a distance, Asta realizes the situation just hit critical mass. Thrilled to finally get some real action, he slips on his mask. Right now, he is not Asta, he is officially Troubleshooter number 1. He clenches his fist, praying to the moon for enough strength to actually do his job properly and be a decent troubleshooter today. Even though he is definitely not a saint. Prayer finished, he leaps straight into the chaos, heading for a building that is already collapsing. Meanwhile, Callahan is absolutely having the time of his life inside. Watch this closely. He is genuinely shocked Paul survived that attack, and actually praises the guy for it. Deep down, Paul knows he would be absolute toast right now without that protective talisman WJI handed to him earlier. He had no idea it was even a shield. Honestly, the guy just feels incredibly lucky to be breathing. Perun shoots Paul a freezing look, ordering him to move back before unleashing a massive wave of ice to clash perfectly against Callahan's roaring flames. Perun gives Paul a quick pat on the shoulder, telling him he did great. This proves he actually trusts the guy now. Perun flexes his insane power, casually coating Paul's blade in pure ether. Paul is totally stunned. Perun asks if he can keep deflecting incoming strikes. Paul immediately agrees, promising to hold the line as long as necessary. Paul realizes retreating is totally off the table now. If he breaks, he dies. Meanwhile, Callahan loves this sudden team-up. A powerful mage hiding behind a solid guard is exactly the kind of fun challenge he was craving today. Callahan launches another massive fireball, but this time around, Paul's sword completely shatters. He gets violently slammed into the wall. Seeing his guard wiped out, Perun realizes he finally has to stop holding back and get serious. Basically, when natural mana is limited and 2 top-tier fighters commanded at once, a brutal tug-of-war for absolute elemental control kicks off right there. Perun wants to test exactly how much damage Callahan can endure, and since Perun is practically begging for a duel, Callahan happily accepts the challenge. They both erupt with raw power, trading huge blows while the building takes the heaviest damage. The floor collapses, sending Paul tumbling. As he falls, you and I get the exact same crazy view. He does 2 absolute monsters clashing in midair, holding absolutely nothing back. Paul finally smashes onto the hard floor, heavily questioning why he even joined this fight when he is leagues below their insane power level. Far away, the other troubleshooters are completely speechless, terrified by the sheer destruction these two are causing. They realize instantly that interfering means getting crushed, but just as they think they are safely hidden, Asta drops in from behind, quickly taking them out and throwing the whole squad into sheer panic. With the annoying backup finally cleared out, Asta charges straight toward the main battle zone. His sudden arrival instantly grabs their attention, leaving both fighters completely confused about whose side he is actually on. Moving at blinding speed, Asta grabs Callahan right by the throat, coldly whispering that this is exactly where his life ends. Panicking, Callahan desperately fires a blast at point blank, which instantly triggers a brutal mana backlash on himself. Coughing up blood, Callahan looks up shocked. Asta is completely unharmed, already sprinting right back at him. At the exact same time, more troubleshooters close in. Callahan realizes he desperately needs to suppress his mana recoil to survive this. He quickly downs a potion, completely baffled about where a monster as strong as Asta even came from in the first place. The troubleshooters try bringing Asta down, but he effortlessly blocks their hits and blasts them back with a vicious counter. Callahan watches, absolutely speechless. Against his own will, Callahan finds himself genuinely impressed. Asta is fighting with terrifying precision and absolutely flawless, deadly efficiency. Impressed or not, Callahan is boiling with pure rage now, loudly declaring that Asta is a dead man. Fueled by fury, he summons multiple magic circles, charging up a massive fire attack that is way stronger than before. The firepower is so insanely huge that Callahan literally roasts his own men, leaving Asta staring in complete disbelief. Staring into the thick smoke, Callahan wonders if that huge hit finally caught Asta. He knows his own allies got burned alive just now, but honestly, he does not care at all. And that is where we leave it. He will sacrifice absolutely anyone for the mission. Stick with me here. He stays on guard for a few seconds, sees absolutely nothing, and assumes Asta is dead. He starts smiling, thinking he totally went overboard for no reason. He figures he can easily crush Perun if he just teams up with the rest of the troubleshooters now. But suddenly, his blood runs completely cold. From the distance, Asta's voice rings out, mocking him and asking if that was his absolute best attack. Asta smirks, saying he knows exactly how Callahan operates. He figured out fast that this guy would easily sacrifice his own men just to wipe him out. Floating high above, Asta points his glowing magic circle right at him, declaring that his actions just sealed his fate. Now watch closely. Asta unleashes his Mona Bullet, and Callahan can only stare as the attack comes straight for him. Boom! The Mona Bullet nails Callahan right in the head, piercing straight through like a massive sniper round. With Callahan finally down, Asta actually admits the guy was impressive. Any normal mage would have instantly died from that very first surprise attack. He confesses Callahan's moves were totally deadly, but that massive final strike actually worked out in Asta's favor. Asta completely knows he would have lost if Callahan had grouped up with those troubleshooters for a long, drawn-out battle. Sure, his attacks are getting way deadlier, but Asta's mana reserves are running low. Not exactly ideal right now. Asta casually walks over to Callahan's dead body to search for loot. Talk about lucky. He finds the guy's grimoire exactly as hoped. Battle mages trust absolutely nobody, so they always carry their own grimoires on them. Even though this spatial pouch has a tricky owner recognition spell, Asta is totally not worried. He can crack that spell later. Right then, Perun finally shows up, and Asta jokes that he is super late. Perun just sighs, revealing he was busy cleaning up the remaining small fry enemies. Perun quickly asks if Asta is another assassin hunting him down. Asta just tells him to use his brain. He literally just killed Declan's guy, proving they are allies. Hearing this hard truth, Perun realizes WJ must have sent Asta, and he finally drops his guard. Still, he is super confused about why Paul even approached him earlier. He wonders if WJ split the research into two separate papers, needing two different envoys. Asta hints that Paul's version might actually be a complete fake. He bets WJ used it as perfect bait to reel Declan's men right into the open. Asta thinks WJ is probably tightening up regional security, doing everything possible to absolutely crush Declan's growing influence down to bare minimum levels. But honestly, here is what you and I need to catch. Even with a blackout spell, this insane fight should have definitely drawn the Imperial Knights. Which means only one terrifying thing. Declan has completely bribed the Imperial Knights too. Perun asks if Asta is the real courier. In response, Asta just pulls out the precious thesis and calmly hands it right over. Grabbing the documents, Perun asks if Asta knows what is inside. Asta just smirks he is no fool. Of course he knows. Perun instantly steps back, totally cautious. Asta casually says he really does not mind a fight, but he better think twice, because his next move decides whether he lives or dies today. Perun admits that is a very fair point. He then asks Asta if there is anything specific he wants as a reward. Asta looks confused, so Perun explains. WJ only trusts people who operate like him. To earn that same trust, Perun feels he has to give Asta something valuable in return. Asta thinks it over for a second before finally telling Perun his price. He just wants a simple book. That sounds crazy to Perun. So Asta reveals his massive plan to build a grand tower. He wants to fill this massive tower with knowledge and books that absolutely anyone can read freely. He specifically asks for a book written on arcane science from Perun's own perspective. Shocked by this wild request, Perun promises he will get straight to work. With the deal struck, Asta decides it is finally time for him to leave the scene. But Perun asks how they are supposed to stay in touch. Asta tosses over a glowing communication crystal right into his hands. He explains the two halves are magically linked. If one breaks, the other instantly shatters too. Break one shard for a normal call, and shatter multiple pieces if he is in serious danger. After dropping those instructions, he literally vanishes into thin air. Soon after, the Imperial Knights finally show up to secure the messy area. They rush to evacuate all the Academy students, preparing for any possible follow-up attacks. Amidst the chaos, Asta perfectly blends back in with the students. Damon runs up asking where he was, and Asta just vaguely says he was busy. In his head, Asta knows this wild event will definitely force the Declan family to back off. Damon keeps asking questions, but Asta just wonders why his sigil reacted. Trust me, we are not ready for what comes next. You and I both saw Asta block Callahan's attack, right? Well, he felt raw power resonate through that barrier, something that never happens on normal days. Still, Asta is honestly just relieved. That strange sigil is the only thing that stopped Callahan's counterattack. He racks his brain trying to figure it out, and then it hits him. The rejection phenomenon. It is a defensive trick mages use so their own magic does not end up blowing up in their faces. Asta is so baffled by this that he accidentally mumbles out loud. Damien immediately turns around and asks him what on earth he means by not getting it. Damien is super suspicious and demands to know Asta's secret, but Asta just tunes him out completely. His mind is racing, trying to figure out why that sigil reacted right then. Either way, he realizes he needs way more information. The Academy library is his best bet to find some solid clues about this mess. Later on, Asta is just minding his own business when some random student shouts his name from behind. The guy introduces himself as Chenbi. Asta brushes him off until Chenbi randomly praises his crazy fighting skills. In a split second, Asta actually debates ending this guy's life right here. Does Chenbi know his real identity? Now watch closely. Before Asta can strike, Chenbi says something that literally saves his own life. He geeks out about Asta's wild fight with the combat division during the entrance ceremony. It left quite an impression. Asta finally breathes a sigh of relief. He thought he made enemies, but he actually gained a ton of respect from the students. Trying to play it cool, Asta claims the guy he fought was just lacking ether, warning that a rematch would end very differently. Chenbi scratches his head awkwardly but keeps trailing right behind them, insisting he wants to stick with Asta. Flashing a bright smile, Chenbi admits he has 0 friends here, and joining any other group would just feel super weird. Asta is definitely not thrilled about playing babysitter, but he sighs and tells Chenbi to do whatever. Honestly, Chenbi is just hyped he did not get rejected. Chenbi wastes absolute 0 time and instantly starts chattering away. Surprisingly, this gives Asta a breath of fresh air. He has only dealt with absolute lunatics since traveling back. Honestly, he had totally forgotten what a normal conversation felt like. To lock in this peaceful life, Asta knows he must adapt to the Academy. Fast forward to their first lecture, and Damien is already whining about being half asleep. A second later, Chenbi walks in too. He is completely baffled that they even have classes after all the absolute chaos yesterday. Asta nods in agreement, admitting the schedule is pretty brutal. Just by observing him, Asta figures out Chenbi is clearly not from a wealthy family. Still, he is definitely not a coward either. The kid just has naturally upbeat energy. Right then, Chenbi drops the news that their homeroom teacher is Professor Jara. Asta looks totally confused, since he does not recognize that name at all. Chenbi quickly hypes her up as an absolute powerhouse. Legend says she once slaughtered a horde of trolls completely solo. Then she walks in, and Asta immediately remembers her face from the ceremony. Jara steps up to the front and formally reintroduces herself to the class. She makes it crystal clear yesterday's massive chaos is none of their business. Their only job right now is to sit down and learn. But before they can relax, Jara announces they are jumping straight into a strict mana assessment test. I know what you and I are thinking, another boring test, but this ranks mana quantity and quality. She asks the class which matters more. A noble girl named Argan immediately shoots her hand up to answer the big question. She confidently claims there is no single right answer, but if someone already has a solid base, then overall mana quality is definitely superior. Professor Jara narrows her eyes and demands Argan back up her bold claim. Argan explains that if 2 mages have the exact same power level, the one with higher quality mana will easily dominate the fight. Listening from his seat, Asta smirks. He knows she is just spitting out the exact textbook answer. With all his past battle experience, Asta knows mana quality dictates a spell's accuracy, stability, and raw power. Simply put, a massive mana pool means absolutely nothing if you keep missing your target. Meanwhile, Jara looks deeply disappointed in the answer. Disgust is literally painted across her face. She coldly asks for Argan's family name. The girl proudly states she belongs to Baron Pelham's noble household. Jara scoffs in pure disgust, muttering that she expected exactly that. Argan is instantly shattered, holding back tears. Jara throws the scary question back to the terrified class, but absolutely nobody wants to be her next victim. Suddenly, she points straight at a kid named Ippel. He jumps up nervously. Panicking because he has 0 clue, he just blurts out that mana quantity is the most important thing. Ippel argues that in massive wars, sheer quantity dominates. Asta actually agrees, knowing pure numbers can sometimes crush quality. So, what do you and I think? We will find out next time. Stick with me, guys. We are diving straight into this crazy magic class. Just like before, Dra is totally disappointed with the answer. She just coldly shuts down Epipel exactly like she did to Argan. She refuses to give up. Seeking that one perfect response, she ruthlessly calls out students, one after the other. The whole class is groaning. They think she is just annoying them on purpose, stressing everyone out on day one. Meanwhile, Asta is racking his brain for an answer that will satisfy her. But then, Dra suddenly cuts them off. She admits she has heard enough, and honestly, they were actually super close to the answer. Plot twist, there was no right answer at all. She never even wanted one. She stares them down, asking if their words came from the heart, or if they just said what a teacher wants to hear. She drops some heavy wisdom. A true mage never loses their conviction, no matter where they are. They cannot be shaken by temptation. They need raw strength to uphold their own will until the very end. So she asks the room a pretty harsh question based on their fake answers. Can they really call themselves mages with that mindset? She makes it clear they need to evolve into real mages. She tells them to keep that lesson close. Asta smiles, realizing he guessed her trick. Her teaching style? Absolutely weird, but brilliant. Next up is the mana measurement test. The very first person she calls is Argan. Dra immediately shocks the poor girl, suddenly declaring her as the new class rep. Since her answer earlier was so bold, Dra puts her in charge of recording the mana measurements for the class. Asta is stunned. He finally understands her twisted teaching methods, and honestly, he is incredibly impressed by it. The class gasps at the scanning equipment. This stuff is crazy rare to find anywhere. Dra knows they are clueless. Smirking like a villain, she announces it is time to expose their true mana levels. Pay close attention here. She is hunting for hidden monsters in this class. The device itself is pretty simple. To demonstrate, she orders Argan to just place her hand on the crystal orb and push her mana inside. Argan nervously walks up, touches the glass, and boom, the whole device glows with blinding light. The girl is amazed. Dra points straight to the main dial among all the different indicators. Mana quality goes from 1 to 10. Argan hits a solid 4. That is seriously impressive since last year averaged a 3. Argan turns bright red at the huge praise, quickly thanking her scary teacher. Next up is total mana quantity. Dra tells the blushing rep to pour absolutely everything she has into the orb. Her quantity locks in at 17. Again, an amazing score. The previous freshman class completely maxed out at just 15. Dra actually praises her, admitting those crazy high numbers prove she is an incredibly hardworking student. That sets a terrifying standard. The rest of the class starts desperately praying for a decent score. Asta just watches calmly. He can tell Argan will grow into a powerhouse. Dra suddenly bounces to handle some business, leaving her assistant professor behind to finish up the rest of the testing. One by one, the nervous students step up to test their potential. These stats perfectly expose every single flaw. Meanwhile, Chenbi walks over to Asta, poking him to get up and test his own mana. Asta gets up, but Damien? This guy is out cold, sleeping like a rock. You guys thought Argan was strong? Watch this. A girl named Furion steps up and totally breaks the scale. Level 6 for quality, and her total quantity hits 20. Asta realizes she is from Dahlia's noble house, but with a totally different hair color, she must be from a hidden branch family. The assistant nods. Those insane numbers make total sense coming from such an elite magic bloodline. Still, he warns her to keep training. Right then, Damien finally blinks awake, completely clueless about the hype around him. Asta tells him to just keep sleeping, then sighs and explains the whole mana testing event going on right now. Damien just yawns. He doesn't care at all, asking why they are even doing this. Asta shrugs. He has no clue, but it is free, so they might as well get their scores. Hearing they can skip normal classwork, Damien suddenly gets hyped, shouting he wants to try it out too. Asta just shakes his head as Damien rushes forward. The crowd is already whispering about this weird young kid. Asta is already famous. Chenbi is the unknown wild card. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Stick with me, you and I are about to watch Asta deal with wild rumors. He's called a student beater, even though Damien loved their fight. Damien steps up to the main stage. The teacher hypes him up, telling him to test the device out. Getting his instructions, Damien places his hand on the crystal ball. The second that indicator flashes, the entire class freezes in pure, absolute shock. Nobody can believe what they are seeing right now. Even Furion nearly snaps her neck doing a double take at the massive scoreboard. Damien officially enters the monster category. He casually flexes a level 9 mana quality, paired with a massive quantity score of 67. Out of every single person in that room, Asta is the only guy who completely expected this. Asta gets it. Absolute greatness leaves people speechless. He already knew Damien was a total genius, but completely destroying the highest records, even he is impressed. Damien, being himself, is totally clueless about the insane stunt he just pulled. He innocently asks if his score is good, making Asta realize exactly how this monster was born. Still, Asta firmly believes Damien could have been a legendary hero who literally changed the world if he had just walked down a better path. But this time around, Asta is stepping up as his guide, ensuring he makes the right choices. The Blander family is the only real threat to Declan. So, Asta plans to push Damien past limits even he thought were completely impossible. The teacher quickly warns Damien not to let this epic score inflate his ego. The kid still has to put in serious work. Damien simply smiles and promises the teacher he totally understands. He runs straight to Asta, hyped up, asking if he checked his own score yet. Asta says no, but Damien pushes him. Now everyone is waiting to compare him to the new genius. Left with absolutely no way out, Asta walks toward the crystal ball. He decides to play it super safe, keeping his power completely under the radar. Asta dials his energy way back and finally touches the glowing sphere. Now watch closely, because you're going to want to see this. His tiny mana pool just triggered something absolutely insane. The display starts at 10, but then the whole machine shuts down. A massive error message flashes because he completely shattered the upper limit. Damien cheers like a maniac, but Asta plays it cool. He tells the teacher the machine is totally broken and needs a quick reboot. Damien is the absolute only person here who realizes Asta is just hiding his true strength. The teacher restarts the broken device. This time, Asta suppresses his aura so hard he scores a pathetic 3 for quality and 15 for quantity. The gullible students buy the fake results instantly. Perfect. Asta breathes a sigh of relief for dodging that bullet. Damien, on the other hand, is super frustrated by the fake score and actually curses aloud. Over at the first magic department, Draw stands in her fancy office, observing the massive reconstruction of the second mage hall. A few moments pass, and assistant teacher Yervi walks in carrying the mana records. Draw scans the documents, pointing out the standout students. She immediately notes that a talent like Damien will need some elite guidance. Suddenly, she spots Asta's score and sees the error retest. I know what you're thinking, cover blown, right? Yep, she instantly figures out he is no normal kid and decides she definitely needs to watch this absolute mystery closely. A bit later, the boys are chilling, creating magical toys. Chenbi is completely mind-blown by how effortlessly Damien throws around massive amounts of mana. Watching this crazy display, Chenbi realizes a harsh truth. He is basically just a small fry in this grand magical world. Asta notices his friend's heavy reaction. He gets the feeling, but really hopes Chenbi can accept his limits and just keep moving forward. Wrapping up their game, Damien smiles. He admits he is having a blast and loves this academy. Hearing that, Asta lets out a massive sigh of relief. He is genuinely thankful the young monster is finally settling down. Later on, Asta finally unlocks the spatial pocket he bought a while back. Because his magical senses are so weak, it took him a whole month just to break the seal. During that long wait, he completely absorbed the Blander elixir right into his mana form. Plus, he has been soaking up tons of high-level magical theory in his academy classes. With the spatial pocket finally open, he jumps right into the loot. The very first item he pulls out is a glowing potion. Next up is a strange cloak, which he tosses aside as garbage. But then he uncovers a sturdy defensive artifact, an absolutely solid piece of gear. Finally, he scores big. It is Declan's hidden grimoire, the legendary Red Flame. This is an ancient secret spell branching off from Farron's Blue Flame technique. It is a wildly devastating magic, strong enough to literally incinerate raw energy fields. He knows he cannot master this overnight. Learning a spell this complex is going to take serious grinding. Days pass, and everyone groups up for the midterm evaluations. Asta is shocked by the massive crowd. Chenbi casually explains that all the first years are standing right here. Chenbi whispers a staff rumor that their test involves a brutal canyon breakthrough. So what do you and I make of this? Things are about to get insane. Stick with me here. The midterm performance evaluation is split into 3 parts. First is the trial corridor, basically a crazy maze-like sewer where they have to reach the goal. Second, the canyon breakthrough. It is an all-out race straight to the finish line. The final stage is the simulator, an all-out duel against a person or a monster. Even knowing these 3 tests inside out, Asta is totally chill. Why? Because all he actually has to do is pass. But he is definitely worried about Chenbi, who isn't exactly overpowered like him or Damien. While the students frantically debate the test, a thunderous voice suddenly booms out, demanding absolute silence. Enter Parun. He formally introduces himself to the panicked students, declaring that he will be the head examiner overseeing this entire performance evaluation. Without wasting any time, Parun drops the bomb. Their specific test is going to be the trial corridor. Chenbi practically wets himself. Whatever little survival plan he had cooked up, completely ruined. Parun then orders the classes to line up as he lays down the rules. He confirms the trial corridor is a massive sewer maze. Their only objective? Navigate through the filth and reach the final gate. Basically, every single path leads to the end, no matter which one they pick. Hearing this, Chenbi actually grins. Suddenly, he thinks this test is going to be a total breeze. But wait. Parun immediately crushes that hope, saying a basic maze would make the test completely meaningless. Now watch closely. Parun has a nasty surprise cooked up. He completely unveils his massive stored golems. Chenbi instantly freaks out. He literally cannot believe they are throwing actual, towering golems into a basic performance test. Parun admits these golems might be slow and clunky, but for the students' current level, they are incredibly tough. Thankfully, their cores are fully exposed and their durability is nerfed. That should give the students a fighting chance. Still, in a closed space, those golems will catch up fast. Seeing the students' sheer panic, Parun looks completely disappointed. Even so, he is totally convinced a few students have real potential. After taking a close look, he sizes them up. Honestly, he dismisses Damien as a top contender because the kid just looks incredibly dull. Parun continues explaining the rules, declaring that these golems are strictly meant to be gatekeepers, meaning the students either defeat them or run right past them. He then reveals everyone gets a test bracelet acting like a protective force field. The catch? The moment that force field shatters, you are instantly disqualified, and the golems will completely ignore you. After laying down all the rules, Parun notices the students are still looking completely unmotivated, so he decides to drop a massive incentive. He challenges them to impress him however they can, promising the ultimate winner a personal reward they will absolutely kill for. The second Asta hears that, his eyes light up. He immediately wants whatever Parun is offering. Let's pause for a second. Turns out, Rapida is the largest library on the eastern continent, and it is split into 3 specific tiers: upper, middle, and lower. With Asta's current status, he is only allowed in the lower tier, and when he searched there for vital clues, absolutely nothing. What he needs simply doesn't exist in that lower section. Knowing this, Asta figures out the hard truth. He needs access to the middle or upper tiers to find what he is hunting for. The problem? Those tiers are strictly locked behind royalty, arch-nobles, and distinguished houses. Luckily, there is a loophole. You can get in with a direct recommendation from 3 or more professors. Realizing this, Asta knows exactly what he has to do, absolutely impress Parun today. Rule explanation over, Parun announces a brief prep time. They can grab specific supplies from the professors to help them survive the upcoming test. Pure chaos erupts. Students rush the assistants, desperately demanding high-level items to somehow give them an advantage. Denied. Almost all requests get rejected because they cannot bring in anything that gives an unfair, overpowered edge. While everyone else is screaming and totally panicking, Damien calmly steps up and requests 20 vine seeds. The assistant professor is stunned. Vine seeds? That completely goes against Damien's known primary element. But Damien coldly replies that he has no primary element, meaning plant magic is still perfectly on the table. Asta watches this, totally surprised. He never expected the lazy, nonchalant Damien to actually make serious strategic preparations. At the same time, Asta is incredibly eager to see if Chenbi finally breaks out of his shell. Prep time over. Parun announces he is assigning their starting locations, telling everyone to check the board for their exact starting points. Asta scans the list to find his name. Turns out, he has been officially assigned to starting point 3. He sees the others got different points. Trust me, you will want to watch what happens next. Stick with me here. Asta is stuck in a group of 6 random guys, and he has zero clue who they are. Suddenly, this completely arrogant noble walks right up to Asta, flexing with 2 of his loyal lackeys. He introduces himself as Debe. Seeing Asta's sword skills, he pitches a shady deal. Asta says to shoot, and Debe admits he wants to buy up the bracelets of every single eliminated student. He offers a solid 30 gold coins for every single one. Excluding Asta, Debe, and the 2 lackeys, that leaves 3 targets. So, he is throwing down 90 gold coins total. Asta is genuinely shocked by this flex. I mean, 30 gold coins could feed a normal family for an entire month. Debay assumes Asta will beg for this cash since he looks broke. Plus, it is an easy way for Debay to stay safe. Asta actually agrees. Some might call it running away, but honestly, it is just playing the cards you are dealt to win. If nobles want to throw money at problems, let them. But wait, Asta suddenly questions why Debay only calculated 90 gold. Debay thinks Asta is just being greedy. So, he bumps the price up by 5 coins, making the new total 105 gold. But Asta shakes his head. The math is completely wrong. He tells them to calculate again, counting the 3 random guys, plus Debay and his 2 lackeys, making 6 targets. Asta stares right at Debay and asks why he forgot to price his own life. Running the numbers, Asta calmly declares that the actual bill is 210 gold. Now pay attention, here is where it gets good. The trio freezes in pure shock, absolutely furious at Asta's insane level of confidence. Debay tries to save face, quickly raising the bounty to 40 gold coins ahead, thinking 35 was too low. But Asta just uses that against him. Perfect. He grins, making the new grand total 240 gold coins. Debay loses his mind. He cannot believe this random kid is actually trying to extort maximum profit from him, totally ignoring the massive death flags. Realizing he cannot win this crazy battle of wits, Debay decides to just cut his losses. He cancels the deal and turns to walk away. But right then, Asta loudly demands to know where he thinks he is going. Asta coldly tells Debay that he already owes him money, which absolutely triggers the noble. Furious, Debay demands an explanation. Asta casually breaks it down with an analogy about 3 heavy bags and 3 rich people sitting together inside a carriage. Even if you throw out the bags, Asta points out you still pay for the passengers. Flashing a totally evil grin, Asta orders Debay to cough up 120 gold coins immediately. Debay's guards instantly step up to protect their boss, barking that Asta is absolutely nothing compared to a high noble. One lackey gets way too cocky. He marches right up, threatening to beat Asta into the dirt, but he instantly regrets it. One look at Asta's deadly stance and bone-chilling voice, and the lackey completely freezes. Wanting 0 parts of Asta's dark aura, Debay swallows his pride and agrees to pay. But just as Debay opens his wallet, Asta ruthlessly bumps the fee to 160 gold coins, since his targets are rich nobles. Debay is forced to hand over the cash, swearing Asta will pay in blood later. Soon after, it is time for the students to enter the arena. Instructor Perun warns everyone that disabling their special bracelets means instant elimination from the exam. The barrier automatically blocks any direct magic spells or heavily mana-infused physical strikes against their bodies. So basically, if your barrier breaks, your bracelet drops right there, and you get instantly teleported out of the testing zone like trash. Because of this safety net, Perun guarantees nobody is going to suffer any fatal injuries. With the rules fully explained, Perun signals his exam assistants to officially kick things off. In a flash, all students are teleported inside, and the live broadcast footage immediately lights up. Scanning the screens, Perun notices that Damien and Dahlia actually spawned at the exact same location. We all knew this was coming, right? Suddenly, the feed from starting point 3 completely freezes up. The assistants totally panic, thinking they messed up the gear. But Perun tells them to chill out, reminding everyone he double-checked everything himself. Little do they know, a brutal fight has already exploded between Asta and Debay's crew. Flashback to a few minutes ago. Debay and his goons aggressively ambush Asta the second they warp into the zone. Knowing that getting blasted by magic means instant disqualification, Asta instantly dashes forward, effortlessly dodging their spells. He moves like pure lightning, leaving Debay's entire squad absolutely horrified. Before they can even blink, Asta unloads a barrage of strikes. Not fatal, but definitely enough to force an elimination. Moving at insane speeds, he delivers brutal, devastating body blows, dropping these arrogant nobles like flies. So what do you and I take from this? Never mess with Asta. He stands over Debay, demanding 320 gold coins for his total disrespect. Stick with me here, things are about to get wild. Asta charges 1 silver coin per hit. When Asta finishes, Debay looks like a beaten, inflated balloon. He disqualifies the entire gang, making it super easy to snatch up all their bracelets. Because he badly needs Perun's recommendation, Asta realizes he just needs 2 more bracelets for the reward. He sits down, brainstorming his next move, because another professor still needs to vouch for him. He actually considers just wrecking the trial corridor, since only 4 pillars hold up the ground. But he scraps that crazy idea. Making an enemy out of the whole eastern continent? Yeah, that would be an instant death sentence. Ultimately, he decides his best option is just to keep moving until he spots something useful. Meanwhile, Damien pulls off something completely insane. Using his vine seeds, he hacks the golems. Now he is controlling them, making the exam an absolute nightmare for nearby students. Pure panic explodes everywhere. Everyone is totally baffled how Damien hijacked golems with just seeds. They try blasting the golems, but the thick vines wrapped around them make magic completely useless. While this absolute chaos unfolds, Chenbi decides to play it smart. His only goal is qualifying, so he avoids the mess entirely. He runs away, desperate for a safe hiding spot. Suddenly, his bracelet sparks. Chenbi assumes a random magic spell just hit him. Totally defeated, he plops down on the floor, just waiting to get teleported out of the testing area. He is convinced he has already failed, but minutes pass, and absolutely nothing happens. He sits there, scratching his head in total confusion. Now pay close attention here. An ominous voice suddenly echoes out, bringing something incredibly sinister. The voice warns the students, no demands. Their only mission? Punish anyone who dared anger the great being. Damien is literally about to crush another student, but he freezes, just to hear what this creepy voice is saying. The voice drops a bombshell. It plans to murder all the students. Professor Perun and the assistants immediately realize this is a massive disaster. The entire system has gone offline. They have completely lost control over the exam. Perun sees his assistants freaking out. He snaps them out of it, ordering them to find the other professors immediately. He screams at them to make finding JRO their absolute top priority. The assistants instantly sprint off to grab the academy staff. Perun is absolutely furious. Who would dare sabotage the academy's midterm exam? Meanwhile, down below, every single golem in the corridor is hijacked by the enemy. With these massive golems in enemy hands, they become insanely fast and dangerously lethal. Asta is actually shocked that these hulking golems are tracking him with perfect precision. He quickly realizes the controls are hacked. Looking at this massive metal army, Asta knows every single golem in storage has been unleashed. But Asta is an absolute battle addict. You and I saw this coming, right? He decides to smash some golems and hunt the real culprit. Meanwhile, Chenbi is regretting his pathetic life when he hears rapid footsteps. He spins around, watching a figure emerge from the heavy darkness. It is Asta. Chenbi is literally about to hug him, but then he sees the massive stampede of killer golems chasing right behind him. Asta easily catches up to Chenbi and screams at him to run. Just seconds into this wild chase, Asta realizes Chenbi has zero stamina. The guy is totally going to get caught in a heartbeat, so Asta pivots to plan B, ordering Chenbi to hand over his exam bracelet immediately. Chenbi is super confused, but Asta explains everything. The golems are tracking the bracelets. They act like a loud alarm bell hooked to the system. Hearing this, Chenbi nervously hands over his bracelet, but asks about the plan. Asta says he is going to buy him enough time to escape and track down Damien. Asta reminds Chenbi that he actually has a loving family waiting, making his survival the logical priority. That hits Chenbi hard. He suddenly remembers his father telling him to focus on magic. His entire family has constantly encouraged him since childhood. Chenbi finally summons the courage to sprint away, begging Asta to please make it out of this alive. Running for his life, Chenbi knows he absolutely has to survive. His family sacrificed everything for him. They deserve a son who comes home alive. Suddenly, he remembers his father calling him a proud son, and reality strikes him. He really starts questioning himself. Is he even worth being proud of? He realizes he's been completely timid. So what do we make of this? Change is coming. Stick with me abandoning his own friend finally gives him the harsh reality check he desperately needed. Deciding he refuses to carry any more guilt on his shoulders, Chenbi spins right around. His eyes are burning with pure determination. There is no way he is giving up now. He makes up his mind to unleash the absolute strongest magic he has in his arsenal, a secret technique his teacher left entirely to him. Charging up the epic spell, he practically begs the heavens it works. Turns out, this epic move is simply called the Spear of Earth. Pretty intense name. It acts just like a massive cavalry lance, built to completely pierce through anything. Meanwhile, Asta is busy smashing golems when he suddenly hears Chenbi screaming his name. Asta whips around, spotting Chenbi bleeding from the nose while charging up that insanely powerful spell. Barely getting a warning, Asta frantically dodges the devastating attack that completely obliterates absolutely everything in its path. Once the dust finally clears, a massive crater is left ripped into the earth. The spell was so intense that Chenbi violently starts coughing up blood. Chenbi collapses hard, but Asta manages to catch him just before he hits the dirt. Totally exhausted, Chenbi rambles about his master naming the move. He hypes up how legendary the spell is, but Asta totally disagrees, firing back that it is the caster who actually proves the spell's true worth. Asta claims how you use the magic is what determines absolutely everything. Right on cue, Chenbi acts like he is straight up dying, so Asta shoves a potion down his throat, promising him he will survive. Instantly, Chenbi gets all his energy back, leaving him completely mind blown. At the same time, Asta tries figuring out what to do with him, knowing he cannot just drag Chenbi everywhere. Taking a quick second, Asta carefully traces the surrounding mana flows. Once he locks onto a completely safe route, he points Chenbi exactly where to go to find the other surviving students. Chenbi asks what his grand plan is, and Asta simply smirks, saying he has some highly important business. Now, watch closely. Asta tracks that nasty mana straight to the control room, completely hyped to check it out. Marching closer to the main room, a sudden chill hits him. He instantly remembers feeling this exact same twisted energy once before. It is definitely not Declan. Racking his brain for just a few seconds, the horrifying truth hits him. He is literally up against the demonic realm. The memories flood back instantly, perfectly recognizing that foul demonic energy pouring straight out of the demon world. Asta's face flips into pure psycho mode, suddenly remembering that one totally unhinged creep, Frizen, is orchestrating everything. Meanwhile, back in the control room, Frizen is losing his mind with joy. His sick experiment actually worked, spawning demonic beasts exactly how he planned it. Everything clicked perfectly, all thanks to that creepy ancient artifact glowing on his hands. Because of its insane spatial severing ability, Frizen tapped straight into the demon realm with 0 casualties, totally hijacking the entire control room. While Frizen gloats, his mysterious partner standing right behind him starts questioning his reckless methods, asking if pulling off something this dangerous was actually worth it. Frizen confidently shoots back that just by generating this raw demonic energy, their dark little contract is already completely fulfilled. The shadowy figure finally steps into the light, wearing a mask straight over his mouth. We both know how these shady deals go, right? He basically tells Frizen to do whatever he wants, as long as a certain professor gets completely and utterly disgraced. Bowing respectfully, Frizen addresses this masked guy as the legendary Great Hound of House Vimar. The Hound violently snaps back, warning Frizen never to speak his noble family name again. Deep down, Frizen is absolutely boiling. He hates bowing to this Hound guy, just because his own bloodline is a mere vassal under Declan. But Frizen is playing the long game here, hoping Vimar hooks him up with a private lab. Because of that, he decides to swallow his pride and endure the disrespect. Plus, he and his little cult have officially managed to establish a forbidden magic sect known as Salvation. Suddenly, the Hound demands to know how long hacking the core will take, sensing a student rapidly approaching them. Instead of panicking, Frizen gets super pumped that his very first test subject just walked right in. He is absolutely dying to see what happens when a human tanks raw, concentrated demonic energy. Normally, a regular person would just die instantly. But Frizen claims the ancient texts reveal a twist. For someone wielding mana, it mutates them, violently turning them into a human beast. Back to Asta, he is completely boxed in. Golems are blocking his exit behind him, and raging demonic beasts are charging from the front. Trapped in this absolute nightmare, Asta boldly decides to just push forward. And trust me, you will love this. Asta just smirks right back, letting the grinning Frizen know he is coming for his head. Frizen's creepy smile vanishes in a split second, prompting the Hound to ask if he recognizes Asta. Let's dive right in. Frizen is trembling, demanding to know exactly how Asta knows his true name. Out of nowhere, Asta whips out a bunch of collected bracelets. With lightning speed, he dashes at the demonic beasts, slapping the trackers right onto them. This basically forces the beasts to fight the golems. They wipe each other out while Asta barely lifts a finger. Frizen completely loses it, screaming as his monsters destroy themselves. But wait, Frizen realizes he has way bigger problems. He spots Asta completely smashing through the barrier, heading straight for the control room. Before his guard dog can even blink, Asta is inside. He looks right at Frizen, saying he's waited so long for this. Meanwhile, Chenbi and Damien finally group up. Chenbi is absolutely terrified seeing the absolute wreckage Damien caused the golems. Damien isn't alone though. Dahlia spots Chenbi and instantly demands to know how he survived. Suddenly, it clicks for Chenbi. They have to ditch the bracelets right now because the golems are tracking them. He warns the other students, but they laugh in his face. They think he's just trying to steal their precious points. Chenbi is completely stunned. He practically yells at them that with literal death traps everywhere, nobody cares about some stupid bracelets anymore. He explains that the trackers are linked to the control room, acting like a giant dinner bell. Someone sarcastically asks if he figured this genius theory out himself. Chenbi honestly admits it was all Asta. The second he drops that name, a girl mocks him. She says absolute trash like Asta completely played him like a fool. Another guy sneers, claiming Chenbi is just terrified of failing out alone, trying to drag the rest of them down too. The dude keeps trashing Asta's name, but Chenbi is getting seriously pissed. He actually saw what Asta can do. Before Chenbi snaps, Damien cuts in. He starts talking about the very first time he ever met Asta. That exact moment totally defined their whole dynamic. It is the exact reason he trusts Asta completely. Without hesitating, Damien rips off his own bracelet. He tosses it on the floor, daring anyone to take it. He looks at Chenbi, saying it's time to move. Chenbi is totally speechless, suddenly realizing he underestimated Damien this whole time. Now watch closely. Inside the control room, Asta tells Frizen he is eager to kill him. But Frizen is completely lost. He has no clue who Asta even is. Panicking, he screams at the Hound to protect him. The Hound glares back, asking Frizen if he is absolutely sure he doesn't recognize Asta at all. Frizen furiously denies knowing him. Hearing that, the Hound finally steps up, bound by their contract to take out the trash. He unseals his terrifying weapon, a massive chain sword. He casually promises to erase Asta so cleanly that nothing remains. Funny enough, Asta recognizes the Hound instantly from the Vimar family. They are super famous elites, known for landing piercing attacks just like an expert archer. But they raised one kid totally off the grid. That kid became the Hound, an absolute attack dog kept for the front lines. Asta smirks, straight up asking why a Vimar is playing bodyguard for absolute garbage like Frizen. Hearing his family name drops the Hound's jaw. He demands to know what Asta knows. Asta completely ignores him, coldly repeating the exact same question again. You saw that coming, right? The Hound just assumes the fear of death made Asta crazy. He furiously demands answers about his family, but Asta just keeps pressing the same exact question over again. Completely unhinged now, the Hound violently hurls his chainsword. Asta dodges it effortlessly, and once again, repeats his question. Asta steps closer. The Hound smirks, totally convinced he can secure the kill right now. He triggers the retrieval spell, yanking the blade back to slice Asta from behind. But shocker, Asta reaches out and catches the spinning blade barehanded. Standing face to face, Asta casually mentions he used to raise dogs. And guess what? They always lose their minds when sounds repeat. The Hound goes absolutely ballistic. He cannot believe this random kid is standing there comparing an elite killer to a mutt. But Asta stares him down, calmly saying he is just calling it exactly like it is. Bam! Before the Hound even blinks, Asta bashes him with his own weapon. Pure terror hits Frizen, who screams that his elite guard cannot lose here. Too bad. The Hound is completely at Asta's mercy. With zero hesitation, Asta drops a bone-crushing punch, instantly knocking the elite killer out cold. Frizen watches his only protection drop to the floor. Stepping over the body, Asta taunts Frizen, asking if he's going to keep hiding behind human shields. Frizen is enraged. He quickly pulls out a dark magic relic. But before he can even trigger it, Asta cleanly slices his hand off. Blood sprays everywhere as Frizen screams. That is where we leave it, guys. Stick with me here. We are about to witness pure panic as he realizes it is game over, screaming at Asta to just stay away. Desperate, Frizen actually tries threatening him, warning Asta that killing him means the demonic realm won't ever be stopped. He reminds Asta that his friends are totally going to die if that demonic realm stays active. But Asta's response is absolutely chilling. He says he will gladly wait for the realm to consume everyone. He tells Frizen to enjoy the show, because he is next. And right then, Frizen finally realizes he is dealing with an absolute psycho. Frizen is mind blown. Asta literally does not care about the demonic realm at all. He is actually willing to just let his own friends die. Seeing this pure, ice-cold behavior, Frizen seriously wonders if Asta is even human anymore. He desperately repeats that everyone will die if the demon realm is not stopped. But Asta does not even blink. He still does not care. Frizen screams, demanding to know why. Asta simply dashes right at him, explaining that he does not care because the solution is actually incredibly simple. In a flash, Asta grabs his right hand and snatches the artifact. Asta smirks, telling him he is not the only one who understands this artifact. He equips it, slamming his hand on the core and completely shutting down the demon realm. Watch closely here. Frizen is absolutely completely paralyzed in shock, and Asta leans in, making it clear he will never, ever forget this guy. Asta explains how Declan framed Frizen for a ton of crimes before his execution. Trying to prevent all of that is exactly why Asta hunted Frizen. He talks about chasing Frizen for so long he basically went insane. Despite being the absolute best tracker around, finding Frizen was just impossible. Asta admits the guy was an insane runner, literally hiding everywhere across the entire planet. He searched every corner, hands completely soaked in blood. After an eternity of chasing, Asta finally tracked him right down to the demonic realm. Asta stepped straight into the demonic realm without hesitation. Monsters attacked non-stop, the demonic energy completely destroying his mind and body. But he still could not find Frizen, and he finally just gave up. Barely alive, he crawled out of that realm, only to find a troubleshooter just waiting outside. The guy had major news but was way too terrified to enter the realm himself, so he just waited safely outside until Asta emerged. And the news? It was all about Frizen. Turns out, the guy was already dead. Declan had caught him first, squeezing out every single detail about forbidden magic and that artifact. You know how that feels, right? Total emptiness. Asta just sat outside that demonic realm for days, completely broken, staring blankly at the sky. Hearing all this, Frizen plays dumb. He claims he has no idea what Asta means because he is just a normal attendant. Asta completely ignores him, noticing the guy is actually bleeding way too much now. Popping a potion, Asta forcefully shoves it down his throat. He tells Frizen he is not allowed to die yet until he hears the ending. Secretly, Frizen is frantically looking for any escape route now that Asta gave him this tiny opening. Asta continues, saying he saw a wyvern flying freely in the sky. Right then, he realized he was just an empty shell taking his emotions out on the world. Because of that moment, he wiped all thoughts of revenge from his mind. But fate brought Frizen back. While Frizen plots his escape, Asta suddenly dashes forward and violently smashes his head right into the hard ground. Looking like an absolute demon, Asta reveals he studied every single thing about that demonic realm and Frizen's sick experiments, just for this exact encounter. Asta coldly tells him he managed to fully document how his comrades died, and because of that, he is going to slowly recreate every single ounce of that pain onto Frizen's own body. Tears and sweat pour down Frizen's face. The terrifying realization hits him. Asta is going to absolutely enjoy torturing him. 2 hours later, Jara finally breaches the testing ground, screaming at the attendants to hurry up and find the students so they can save them. She is completely furious that breaking ancient magic took her 2 entire hours. She is absolutely not ready to lose a single one of her students. Suddenly, an assistant rushes over with the system core, revealing something insane. Everything is totally back to normal, and every single spell has been removed. Jara immediately orders the assistants to prioritize rescuing students instead of hunting the intruder down. Plus, she bans any public announcements, since they have zero clue how this mysterious intruder might react. Soon after, every single student is perfectly accounted for, leaving Jara incredibly confused. She cannot believe it. Under heavy attack for over 2 hours, and not one single student lost their life in the chaos. Just then, Perun contacts Jara, confirming that he finally gained access inside the internal control room. He displays the feed, and Jara freezes in pure horror. Trust me, you and I were not ready to see those 2 completely mangled bodies. Stick with me here. Jara is trying to figure out who pulled off that brutal kill, and suddenly, Asta's profile pops into her head. She turns around, locking eyes right with him. And just looking at his face, she can absolutely tell this guy is hiding a massive secret. Just moments later, the headmaster drops in, claiming he rushed over here as fast as humanly possible. Jara is totally caught off guard. She cannot believe he crossed from the eastern outskirts of the continent in such a crazy short time. The old man, though, he is just super pleased that Jara handled the mess so perfectly. But get this, he is actually way more interested in her report. The part claiming Asta was the absolute beast who totally shredded those intruders. Here is the deal. Every mage carries a heart demon, and it always strikes completely out of nowhere. And honestly, dealing with this inner demon never, ever ends well. Back in his troubleshooter days, Asta followed orders perfectly, so he never had one. But seeing his comrade wiped out by forbidden magic, that sparked pure, absolute rage. But he forced that boiling anger down. At least, he thought he did. Running into Frizen in the trial corridor acted as a trigger, letting loose all those violently bottled up emotions. Asta felt like a walking bomb ready to explode. But watch closely here. A whole week has passed since that insane incident. He figures this quiet moment is the ultimate chance to absorb the Crimson Fire secret tome. See, the art he mastered in his past life was strictly non-attribute standard issue for top-tier troubleshooters. So diving into an elemental art like Crimson Fire, this is completely new territory for him. That is exactly why he rereads the early stages obsessively, but he also flips to the end, just making sure the final form feels completely right to him. The core mana circuits actually match up pretty closely with the Heavenly Origin technique, but just pushing mana through these specific circuits only creates basic fire energy, meaning he has to hold a perfectly clear mental image while doing it. Bam! He activates the tome, draining its mana. A roaring flame sparks inside his heart, literally burning right through his hands. Once that manifests, he starts dangerously compressing the spell. He instantly feels the recoil. This elemental magic is wrecking his body way worse than his usual plain mana. Still, he pushes through and successfully absorbs a chunk of it. Asta smirks. He is now one massive step closer to crushing Farron. He is hyped that he finally mixed a fire attribute into his base combat art. Right as he finishes and starts plotting his next move, a heavy, suffocating presence suddenly drops right outside his building. Without a shadow of a doubt, he knows exactly what this person wants. A direct challenge. He steps outside without flinching. And I know you didn't expect this. It is the old dwarf himself, the Academy headmaster. The old man smirks. He finally gets why Jara was suspicious. Asta controlled that fire mana way too perfectly. He flat out calls Asta special. Asta politely calls him principal, but the guy cuts him off, demanding to be called headmaster. Boom! The headmaster suddenly flexes a monstrous wave of aura. Asta braces himself, wondering what is about to happen. But come on, Asta used to be an elite troubleshooter. He literally feels zero fear. He easily stands his ground. The headmaster glares, reminding Asta that as the top dog of this academy, he deserves some serious respect and a proper greeting. Playing along, Asta bows his head and practically screams his greetings at the absolute top of his lungs. The headmaster just laughs, telling him to chill. He blocked all sound in the area, so Asta can scream all day and no one is going to hear a thing. Asta is actually pretty impressed. This old man is sharper than he looks. He was totally trying to alert the others, but the headmaster easily read his bluff and countered it. Cutting to the chase, Asta asks why he is here. The old man states plainly, he wants answers, but how Asta answers will change everything. With that threat hanging, the headmaster casually takes a seat. The sheer pressure he drops is so heavy it literally crushes Asta to his knees. He reveals Jara spilled the beans. Asta is hiding something, and he wants in. Asta is completely mind-blown by this insane flex of power. Is this seriously the same stuttering old guy who could barely give a speech at the Grand Hall? Staring up, Asta has to admit the bitter truth. This headmaster is a total, undeniable monster. But still, even with this crazy pressure, he is nowhere near Declan's level. Using that gap, Asta finds a tiny hole in the headmaster's mana flow and snaps it completely shut. Now perfectly free from the overwhelming gravity, Asta stands up. He looks the old man in the eye, fully aware this is about the trial corridor. The headmaster is shocked. Asta is not denying it. Asta just smirks, denying it is completely pointless right now. He wanted it kept secret. But a power this wild? Trust me, you and I know it is impossible to hide forever. Stick with me, guys. We're diving right back into this interrogation as Asta takes the lead. But honestly, Asta is totally lost here. The headmaster's vibe is completely unreadable, dead serious 1 second, grinning the next. The old man finally drops the act. He'll ask the questions, and Asta can answer what he wants. Hey, it definitely beats getting pummeled into the ground, right? Now that they're finally on the exact same page, Asta grabs a seat, ready to listen. But before the old man can even speak, Asta drops a clever little parable. He casually brings up a wyvern becoming the hunted. That definitely grabs the headmaster's full attention. This instantly makes the headmaster compare their current mess to an all-out war zone. He demands Asta treat him like a proper senior, or else he's getting knocked out cold. Playing it smart, Asta bows respectfully and calls him senior. The old guy actually loves it. With the hierarchy settled, things get real. The headmaster unleashes an absolutely terrifying aura, demanding to know why Asta absolutely destroyed those intruders so brutally. Asta blinks in pure shock. Wait a minute, that insane killing intent? It's aimed at the intruders, not him. Asta asks what the big plan is now. The headmaster's answer? Total annihilation. He's going to ruthlessly crush the intruders and whoever dared to sponsor them. You're going to love this flex, guys. He guarantees the Emperor himself will greenlight this absolute massacre. He's even calling in his old comrades. Hearing that, Asta connects the dots instantly. He's bringing back the legendary war mages and veteran knights who used to fight by his side. Yeah, Asta knows right away. This backup squad is going to be incredibly overpowered. Asta casually throws out that everything leads right back to Declan, but the old man sees right through that lie. Asta is honestly impressed by those sharp instincts. Scapegoating Declan would have been so easy, but nope, no luck today. Time for the truth. Asta reveals Vimar is the real culprit. The headmaster assumes both targets are from the Vimar family, but Asta corrects him. One is Frizen, a top-tier Magitech engineer. When the headmaster demands hard evidence, Asta just smirks. He outright teases the old man, asking if he really needs to be spoon-fed every single clue like a rookie. The headmaster is absolutely stunned by his crazy disrespect. Getting back on track, he asks how Asta even knows these names. Cool as ice, Asta breaks the whole situation down. He manages to explain everything perfectly, while carefully keeping his regression and that magical grimoire a total secret. Still, Asta can literally feel the headmaster's boiling rage from across the room. Once the old man cools down, he points out that Asta seems determined to build his own tower. He actually offers to completely fill the shelves on the first floor for him. Asta is thrilled by this massive win and genuinely thanks the headmaster for backing him up. But there's a catch. The headmaster promises to hand over the admission ticket, but only if Asta handles a special favor for him first. You and I both saw that coming, right? Asta instantly realizes he's trapped in a serious bind now. Reading that nervous look on Asta's face, the old man just laughs and tells him to cheer up. He promises the favor can wait for another time. Then, he immediately brings up the artifact that builds the demonic realm. Sure, it sounds insanely dangerous, but the headmaster Tyner Fings. It's perfect for Asta's new library. Why? Because its spatial severance ability is basically an ultimate defense mechanism. Asta can't even argue with that logic. That artifact is just way too useful. I mean, even the top academy professors couldn't break through it. Asta knows for a fact it'll be perfect for defending his tower. There's just one tiny problem. Asta is practically clueless when it comes to advanced magitech. Hearing this, the headmaster tells him to go find Jara for some help. He promises to put in a good word for our boy, assuring Asta that she is an ally he can completely rely on. But fair warning, unlike the laid-back headmaster, Jara is definitely going to start digging into Asta's real identity. So, they brainstorm a fake backstory just to be safe. Cut to the very next day. Asta is hitting the books when Damien and Chenbi suddenly appear. And wow, Asta is totally speechless. These two have packed on some serious weight in just 1 week. He's also blown away by how popular they are now. The other students are practically flocking to them. Chenbi explains the hype. Everyone is worshipping them because of that genius bracelet trick Asta shared back in the trial corridor. People have literally been throwing expensive elixirs at them as gifts, and their wealthy parents chipped in too. Chenbi genuinely thanks him, but Asta completely brushes it off. He points out that Chenbi was the one who actually talked the students into it. Asta reminds him that he stepped up and created this awesome change all by himself. Curious, Asta then asks what Damon actually pulled off inside that trial corridor. Chenbi drops a wild detail. Damon used plant magic to literally bind a golem and enslave it. He commanded an entire squad of golems, naming them Cerberus 1 through 3. But right as Chenbi gets comfortable to really start chatting with our guy, Jara crashes the party, ordering Asta to her office right this second. Once they're alone behind closed doors, she stares him down and asks if he knows why he's there. Asta smirks, pretty sure this isn't a counseling session. Trust me, you're going to love what's next. Alright, you and I are diving into pure madness today. Jara confirms the headmaster's cover story. Asta is an old war mage's descendant. She also knows Vimar orchestrated the whole incident, and Asta totally backs this up, calling everyone involved pure trash, especially Declan. He is seriously impressed. The headmaster rigged this perfectly. Instead of using a fake identity to expose Blander, the headmaster pitched a brilliant lie. Asta plays the roaming heir of an ancient war mage, one who holds a massive, bloody grudge against Declan and Weimar. Asta gladly accepts this setup since it perfectly aligns with his master plan. Jara admits this story has massive holes, but since the headmaster personally gave the order, she is definitely not going to ask any more questions. She promises Asta she will hide his tracks, fully realizing that this kid is not an actual threat to the academy itself. Suddenly, Asta completely shifts the mood, shamelessly staring at Jara's assets before casually reminding her of their huge age gap. Jara almost loses her temper but forces herself to breathe. She decides to treat it as a clumsy compliment, calmly letting the insult slide. Shifting gears, Jara praises Asta. Without his quick thinking, the students in that corridor would have been totally wiped out. Right then, Asta pitches his big idea to build a brand new library, asking if she could back him up with a solid supply of books. Jara does not even blink before agreeing to help, causing Asta to let out a massive sigh of relief. With that done, he finally secures all 3 academic connections he desperately needed. Now, pay close attention here. Jara shifts focus to the mysterious artifact, warning him that decoding its secrets will take a seriously long time. She points out the deadly risks involved, but honestly, it is no big deal. If things get ugly, they can just smash it to pieces. Her real fear? the dark forces out there who will kill to get their hands on that legendary gauntlet. And by that, she means the sinister forbidden magic syndicate known as Salvatium. Asta has literally zero clue who they are. Jara breaks it down. This cabal is packed with masters of deadly, outlawed magic. They all fight differently, but they share one terrifying goal: dragging the demonic realm into reality. She is completely convinced Friesen was tied to Salvatium, especially since he was the first guy to actually pull this off. Since Friesen is dead, Jara drops a heavy warning. The cabal is definitely coming for Asta to snatch that artifact right back. She reveals their sheer persistence actually rivals the terrifying Declan family. She bluntly tells him he might actually die, completely unaware of his true power level. Hearing this, Asta just gets an absolutely insane rush of excitement. Fear? Not a chance. The idea of crushing Salvatium gets his blood pumping. He fully plans to hunt them down and send them to hell. Jara freezes, totally caught off guard by the unhinged, deadly smirk creeping across Asta's face. Without hesitating, Asta simply tosses the cursed gauntlet right over to Jara, ordering her to start digging into its secrets. Jara promises she will, but pause for a second. An assistant suddenly bursts in, sweating bullets. He drops a massive bombshell about the Declan leader. Farron has just rolled into the academy, and that name sends pure shockwaves straight through Asta. The entire campus instantly spirals into chaos, while the headmaster barks orders for everyone to brace for impact. Students are frantically shoved back to their dorms while heavy security locks down. The headmaster, Parn, and Jara stand tense, waiting to formally receive Declan. This is actually the headmaster's very first time meeting the man who conquered the family at age 30 through absolute, undeniable brilliance. But let's be real, everyone knows the atrocities skyrocketed the moment Declan grabbed power. Still, the headmaster refuses to let that dictate his welcome. At the same time, seeing Declan arrogantly riding his carriage straight into the sacred academy boils his blood. Tradition strictly dictates that no matter your status, you walk on these grounds. Period. Declan finally rolls up to the waiting trio, casually asking if it is time yet. The headmaster stares, completely thrown off by that bizarre question. With a smirk, Declan casually mentions hearing about the trial corridor ambush. Matching his cold energy, the headmaster snaps back, warning Declan not to speak on unverified rumors. Internally, the headmaster is raging. He knows the Declan family orchestrated the attack, yet this guy plays the innocent fool. Right then, a sickeningly fake smile stretches across Declan's face as he claims he only came to help. Declan casually rips open his pocket space, bragging about hunting down the attackers himself, and sitting right inside that void, the bloody, severed heads of the culprits, with Vimar front and center as the undisputed mastermind. Declan proudly announces he tied up all loose ends by slaughtering Vimar and his kids. High above, Asta watches this whole twisted scene unfold from a rooftop, completely unsurprised by the betrayal. But that perfect timing? You and I know what comes next. He realizes something crazy. The only person he told about Vimar and Declan was the headmaster, yet Declan showed up the very next day. Let's be real, you and I both know this is no coincidence. Declan is playing chess. Still, Asta smiles. In this new life, he finally has a real shot at taking Declan down, even if that monster is completely out of his league right now. A few days pass, and academy life goes right back to normal. But behind the scenes, Farron pulled a massive string during his last visit. He actually plans to send a direct descendant of Declan's bloodline straight into the academy as a student. It is the ultimate hostage play, a brutal tactic only the absolute top-tier noble houses can pull off. Right on cue, the Imperial House makes a shocking announcement. The third princess is officially enrolling in the academy too, but that crazy drama is for next year. Right now, the academy needs a massive morale boost, so they kick off the epic Pistaniki festival. It is a massive victory party honoring the brave students who were forced to fight during the brutal war. Asta figures the school is treating that brutal trial corridor exactly like a real war zone. It honestly works perfectly to lighten the heavy mood. And to make things even wilder, the academy actually allows alcohol, giving everyone absolute freedom. Even the serious Damien wants to grab a drink with the mercenaries. Right in the middle of the fun, a loud announcement calls all students for the official award ceremony. Everyone is ordered to gather right in front of the legendary Sage Hall. Damien tries to skip it, but Asta physically drags him there anyway. Asta is absolutely hyped for this ceremony. He risked his life, and now he is ready to claim his hard-earned reward. The headmaster finally finishes his long speech, and the real main event actually begins. Names are called, and the top students walk up to the stage. First is Dahlia, then Damien, and surprisingly, Evelyn is called up next. Now watch this closely. Chenbi and Asta go up too, but Asta is standing there totally confused, wondering what exactly Evelyn did to earn this. He is honestly a bit suspicious, mainly because she literally never existed in his past life's memories. Still, he brushes it off. She must have pulled off something totally insane during the trial corridor to score a medal. Then, it is finally Asta's turn to get rewarded. The headmaster personally steps up and hands him an insanely expensive box holding a top-grade elixir. Once the ceremony wraps up, Asta and the crew party all over campus until dark. Then, boom, a massive fireworks display lights up the entire sky. Asta thinks it is a total waste of cash, but he secretly promises to launch his own fireworks when he finally builds his dream library. He imagines standing at the absolute peak of his tower, looking down at everything. His grand master plan? A massive festival lasting an entire week, followed straight by his legendary Sage Ascension ceremony. Fast forward to the next morning. The headmaster's white owl drops a secret message. He wants to meet at their usual spot, and Asta literally dives right out of his window to get there. They meet at a creepy, abandoned building that old Academy troubleshooters used to operate from, which basically makes it the absolute perfect hideout for highly classified conversations. Asta steps inside and is totally caught off guard. The old man actually cleaned the whole place up and made it look decent. Once they sit down, Asta gets straight to the point. Why drag him out here so insanely early? The headmaster smirks and mentions a owed favor. Suddenly, it hits Asta like a truck. He traded a blank check favor for that precious library pass. The old man promises it is super easy. All Asta has to do is act like a delivery boy and drop a letter to an old friend. I know exactly what you are thinking. Asta feels the exact same way. This is a trap. Asta nervously asks for the location. The headmaster casually drops a bomb. The target is hiding deep inside the infamous Hammer and Great Forest. Asta's jaw hits the floor. That ancient forest is completely untouched, crawling with lethal mutated monsters and packed with extremely dangerous magical materials everywhere. He seriously cannot believe this old man wants him to track a guy down in a literal death zone. The headmaster just laughs it off, teasing that it shouldn't be too hard since other crazy people actually live out there. He tells Asta to just scout a few base camps, guaranteeing the target will be there. Asta is sweating bullets about the danger, but right as he opens his mouth to reject it, the headmaster cuts him off, smoothly mentioning that he already prepared a little upfront payment. He slides a piece of paper across the table. Asta reads it and completely freezes. Every single item on this reward list is impossibly rare. The old man innocently asks what Asta was about to complain about. Asta instantly swallows his pride and loudly announces he is 100% in. Let's be real, the loot for this suicide mission is just way too insane to walk away from. Trust me, you and I are about to see him get absolutely rich. He even scored the legendary Ira Workshop Artifact Production Voucher. We're talking about a VIP voucher for a legendary workshop. Even elite nobles have to wait in line for this. Let's dive right in. With loot this good, Asta simply cannot refuse the headmaster's offer. The old man then drops the real info. He planned to drag this target back to the academy anyway. Between the demon Chaos and Declan acting up, the headmaster thinks it is finally time to call in his old comrade. But the guy claimed he was tied up with personal issues. So, the headmaster wants Asta to head over, play fixer, and solve the dude's problems for him. Of course, Asta being Asta, he squeezed out even more bonus loot for this headache before finally leaving the room. Walking out, our boy immediately starts plotting his next move. Originally, he wanted to use the top-grade elixir just to boost his mana pool. But since he scored 3 of them, boosting raw mana capacity is no longer the main goal. Since he has options now, and he decides on a crazy technique. One inspired by how knights use ether to reinforce their bodies. A secret method known as mana body. It is basically an ultimate hack, something that will let him completely shatter the mortal limits of his past life. Thinking about this, Asta gets hyped. He is finally about to upgrade this super weak body of his. He is already a genius mage, but gaining elite knight-level physical stats? That is absolutely broken. Wasting 0 time, Asta immediately sits down to absorb the raw power of the first top-grade elixir. He uses his standard breathing method, but flips the script. He forces every single drop of that pure mana straight into his physical flesh. The energy violently soaks right into his joints, muscle fibers, and every single nerve cell. Now, pay close attention here. Within just 60 seconds, Asta's entire body starts completely burning up from the firebrand. Somehow, he keeps his focus and smashes right through the first physical limit. Instead of using normal mana circuits, he slowly forces the burning energy through his actual veins. Next up, he directly injects that raw mana into his muscles. He is pushing his physical limits to the absolute max. The pain is so blindingly intense he feels like he is being ripped in half. For a second, he almost taps out. But nope, he pushes deeper. Draining the absolute last drop of energy he has, he actually pulls it off. The mana body is fully unlocked. Honestly, the results are way better than he originally even hoped for. Even if his current durability cannot handle the max output, he is super confident his new reinforced flesh won't lose in a brawl. Once this body fully matures, he is going to be an absolute nightmare for any knight who crosses him. Time to test his new body's physical regeneration speed. He purposely cuts his own arm, expecting it to heal up in about 15 minutes. That was his average record back in his past life. But boom, the wound stitches itself shut almost instantly. We are talking literal troll level, monster tier regeneration right here. You and I both know how broken this is, right? Combine this crazy bonus with Wuji's healing tome, and Asta basically becomes an unkillable monster just like Damien. Right then, he notices something weird. There is a faint trace of active mana lingering inside his spilled blood on the floor. He tries commanding it, and a bright light suddenly flashes. This confirms a massive secret. His actual blood now physically reacts to his mana. He realizes the Blandor family's secret healing arts will be an absolute game winner if he can just figure out how they work. Apparently, that special tome contains a rapid formula for regenerating flesh and blood. Asta briefly considers tracking down Wuji to ask him about it, but he instantly scraps that plan. He really does not want anything to do with that shady guy. Instead, Asta decides to hit up Lance about it. She is already coming over to the academy for a parent-teacher consultation anyway. Soon enough, Lance arrives, breathing a huge sigh of relief that Asta and Damien are safe. She asks if anything is wrong, but Damien smiles and says he is totally fine. Lance then shifts the mood. Gammo sent her to deliver a message regarding Damien's recent proposal for the Blandor inner lake construction and statue design. She admits the pitch was super detailed, but flat out says Gammo completely rejected it. Damien is instantly crushed. He was so hyped, but Lance quickly adds that there might still be one tiny loophole. She tells Damien he needs to hit the top 16 in the academy's midterm exams. If he pulls that off, she will have real leverage against Gammo. The second she says this, Asta completely sees through Lance's sneaky game plan. Lance smiles, telling Damien not to panic at all. Why? Because he has Asta and Chenbi right there to tutor him to victory. Looking at our duo, she smoothly promises them a massive, high-tier reward if they can drag Damien across the finish line. Asta realizes he just got totally backed into a corner, but he has to play her game, because Lance is his only ticket to getting that flesh proliferation formula. Trapped by the reward, Asta sighs and promises Lance he will help. So, how will this go? They ask Damien about magic basics, and he just stands there looking like a confused goat. Trust me, you need to see this disaster unfold. Stick with me here. Asked if he brought books, he casually drops a massive box filled with every textbook imaginable. Chenbi absolutely cannot believe his eyes. He instantly knows they are about to go through pure academic hell. Panicking, Chenbi asks Damien if he actually turned in the required assignments on time. Damien simply nods yes. Chenbi breathes a massive sigh of relief, thinking they dodged a major bullet. But honestly, Asta is not so sure Damien is actually telling the truth. When Asta checks out Damien's current academic standing, he realizes the kid is failing completely in every single subject except cultural studies. He figures this is totally due to the strict upbringing his wealthy family provided. Damien is failing hard in all the magic-related classes, and Asta is genuinely worried he might end up punching the kid while trying to tutor him. Right in the middle of this crisis, Furion suddenly appears. He casually mentions he overheard their whole conversation about tutoring Damien. Asta demands to know why he is suddenly getting involved, and Furion drops a bombshell he can actually help them out. Damien's face instantly lights up the second he hears that offer. Now pay attention to this part. Asta definitely does not trust him, so Furion decides to pull out something that will completely change his mind. Furion whips out a mysterious sheet that Asta immediately recognizes. It is literally a cheat code. A complete summary of the most recent academy exams, including every single test given by the strict professors. Basically, the entire curriculum from class M1 to M3 is perfectly summarized on these papers, leaving Chenbi absolutely speechless. Asta, on the other hand, still holds a huge grudge for what Furion pulled back at the trial corridor. But looking at these answers, he finally sees a tiny ray of hope. Even though he desperately wants to punch the guy, Asta decides to hold his temper. But then, Furion mentions there is one major condition attached to this gift. Hearing that, Asta figures he might not have to hold back his fists much longer. Furion reveals his catch. He needs Asta to train him for the post-midterm combat evaluations. With Asta's insane battle experience, Furion knows he can easily pass the test. Asta wastes zero time accepting the challenge. He even tells Furion to follow him straight to the training room right now, mostly because he is seriously itching to beat him up. Furion quickly backs down, revealing that the combat training is actually for somebody else entirely. Asta's excited mood drops in a second. Furion tells Asta to follow him to where the mystery client is waiting, and soon enough, both of them head outside the academy grounds. After wandering through endless dark alleyways, Asta is getting ready to just swing at him. But then they arrive at an ultra-luxurious training center. Just by looking at the place, Asta knows instantly that his new student is absolutely loaded with serious cash. You and I both know this is a setup. The secret client? None other than the powerful Dahlia Day. Furion pulls Dahlia aside, asking if she seriously wants Asta as her trainer. She firmly replies it is Asta or nobody, refusing to rely on her family's overwhelming influence. Dahlia practically begs Asta to train her, but he coldly lets her know he has a counteroffer instead. Asta casually suggests that Dahlia should use Furion instead of him. He tells her to just let Furion train her until exams end, since he is already busy giving Damien those intense private lessons. Furion is totally shocked hearing this, but he panics even more when he realizes Dahlia is actually considering the ridiculous idea. Furious, Furion yells at Asta, aggressively reminding him that the study materials already paid for this exact training deal. Asta fires back. Sure, the exam debt is settled, but Furion still has not paid for the horrible stunt he pulled on Chenbi earlier. Furion freezes, totally shocked he got caught like that. Then Dahlia steps right in, calmly telling Asta that his counteroffer works for her. Furion screams in protest. Why are they making decisions for him when he never even agreed to be her punching bag? Furion proudly claims he is a noble descendant of the elite Dai family. Asta just laughs, teasing that he can brag all he wants, but right now, they just need a convenient punching bag. Furion's massive ego completely shatters. Defeated, he has absolutely no choice but to walk away, muttering about having exams to study for. Asta heaves a massive sigh of relief. With Furion gone, Chenbi can finally relax just a little bit. Turning back, Asta tells Dahlia he will actually fulfill her request, mostly because he already pocketed the full payment anyway. Asta asks Dahlia if she is ready for brutal hand-to-hand combat training, but she just stands there, looking completely overwhelmed. Meanwhile, Eve is secretly meeting with a shady associate. It looks like she is hiring him to steal the upcoming exam questions for her. She hands over a hidden address, telling him to meet an absolute expert who handles these exact kinds of dirty jobs. Back to Asta. He still cannot believe he is actually training Dahlia. In his past life, they would have instantly started tearing each other apart. Basically, these two had massive, bloody beef. So what do we take from this? Without backup, he absolutely would have killed her. But once she claimed the title of Dai's chief mage, her and Asta's paths completely separated. Stick with me here. Asta quickly realizes that dropping his old grudge and leveling Dahlia up means pure, absolute profit. When Dahlia effortlessly shuts down Declan, Asta gets seriously hyped. It makes him wonder if he should speed up his entire master plan. He is honestly glad for the deal. If he misses this chance to beat some sense into Dahlia right now, he might never get it again. Getting serious, Asta asks her the ultimate question: what is the absolute key to surviving a one-on-one fight? Dahlia is clueless, but demands to learn the exact footwork Asta used against Exter. Asta is genuinely shocked that she is so obsessed with his personal style. He shuts that down fast, telling her she needs a method built for herself. He throws out a scenario. If an official rank 8 mage fights a rank 9 mage, who takes the win? Dahlia naturally guesses the 8th rank, but Asta completely rejects that. His answer? Whoever crushes the other person's skull first gets the victory. She is totally lost, so Asta gives a brutal demonstration. He snaps a mono bullet right at her head, proving that landing the very first strike is everything. By the time Asta finally heads back to the academy, night has completely fallen. Still, he knows Dahlia will skyrocket in power if she takes more beatings. Suddenly, Damon pops back into his mind. Meanwhile, over on the other side, Evelyn's flunky is sweating bullets over his impossible new assignment. Now watch closely. He realizes Evelyn is using these contracts to build a massive network with elite noble families. And if he plays his cards right here, he could climb right into that powerful inner circle. His last major screw-up still haunts him, but he is dead set on making history play out differently this time. He quickly rocks up to his destination, which looks just like your average cozy tea house. The worker asks for his order, and the guy awkwardly drops his super secret password, make the dragonhorn tea freezing hot. The attendant simply nods and asks for a second. A wave of relief hits the guy. He definitely found the right place, because dropping that line in a normal cafe would be insanely embarrassing. Serving the tea, the worker notes the guy's totally obvious nerves. He admits it is normal. Most people hear dark merchant and picture some shady, damp underground dungeon somewhere. But honestly, nobody would ever guess this gorgeous, sunlit tea room is actually an illegal black market. Getting down to business, the worker asks for his angle. The dude confesses he needs the stolen exam papers for the Academy's basic first-year magic class. The worker smirks, confirming they have a seller looking to drop those exact test papers, but he needs to know the specific Academy department first. The guy quickly claims the magic department. Hitting the jackpot, the worker reveals that he is actually meeting that exact seller in person by the end of next weekend. He casually invites Evelyn's minion to tag along for the ride, and it instantly hits the guy that this shady attendant is totally trying to push his buttons and test his nerve. Even so, he firmly accepts the invite. He covers his fear by claiming it is just basic merchant practice to inspect high-quality stolen goods. Deep inside, the guy knows he has crossed the point of absolutely no return. The worker loves that answer. He whispers the meetup time and location, but gives one terrifying warning: do not write this down anywhere, ever. But while they are busy exchanging top-secret details, Asta is lurking right outside, hearing everything. You and I both know Asta doesn't buy coincidences. A test paper seller and a desperate buyer randomly arriving together? Zero chance that is natural. Asta immediately spots the biggest red flag in this messed up trap. Nobody even bothered mentioning a price. Whatever the game is, he decides to crash it personally. Since he actually stole some elite Declan gear earlier, it is time for a nasty disguise. Diving deep into his subspace pouch, he grabs the uniform, jokingly wondering if he should just rob the richest guy in the area first. Inside, the attendant is stressing over his dangerous gig, right as Asta kicks the door open, fully rocking the Declan Mage armor. The worker practically has a heart attack. An elite enforcer from the Declan family casually strolling into his shop is an absolute nightmare. Asta sharply tells the guy to drop the fake cafe act and skip the silly passwords. The terrified worker instantly obeys, begging to know what he wants. Asta coldly states that he is hunting down a specific subspace pouch. Pure panic sweats down the worker's face. He prays this elite mage isn't looking for Callahan's legendary subspace pouch, which vanished into thin air after his death. Freaking out over why Declan would track that item to his specific black market, he stammers out a frantic denial, swearing they have never seen it. Asta ignores the excuse and zeroes in on the real target, questioning him about the highly suspicious kid who just left. The attendant is completely frozen. That's where we leave it, trust me. You'll want to see what happens next. Let's dive right in. The guy hesitates, so Asta unleashes a terrifying aura, proving instantly that he is completely out of his league. Pure terror grips the attendant. Looking at this monstrous energy, he suddenly realizes this is no ordinary Declan mage standing before him. He completely folds, promising Asta he will confess every detail about the boy, desperately swearing it has absolutely nothing to do with Declan. Asta coldly says he is listening, but makes it clear that he alone will decide if anything is actually being hidden from him. But right before he even starts to speak, Asta cuts him off, demanding the absolute whole truth. Walking toward the warehouse, the guy nervously asks why they are going there. Asta simply replies that he needs to inspect the entire place himself. Staring right through him, Asta asks if he is hiding something, perfectly gaslighting the terrified guy into blindly agreeing to every single demand. Heading straight down into the basement, the panicked attendant asks if going this far is necessary. Swearing on the Declan name, Asta calmly promises him that if he is truly innocent, he has absolutely nothing to worry about. He guarantees that any confession will stay a permanent secret, provided it really has zero connection to the Declan family business. The attendant finally breaks, revealing the boy was following Evelyn's orders. He admits he just works for cash and ignores the details, but he strongly suspects she is buying stolen Academy exam papers off the black market. Now pay attention here. Asta is shocked, because Evelyn is literally the Academy idol, widely praised by everyone for her flawless morals. This huge twist leaves Asta wondering why a supposed saint would do this. He literally cannot believe he is stuck grinding away as a private tutor, while someone else just casually throws dirty money at whatever they want. Walking into the warehouse, Asta spots a ton of really valuable items scattered around. He tells the guy everything looks fine at first glance, but he still needs to thoroughly verify everything to ensure no hidden problems. Then Asta coldly orders him to fetch 2 subspace pouches, planning to confiscate absolutely every single suspicious item in sight. The attendant freezes in total despair, knowing he is ruined. Meanwhile, Chenbi is struggling hard to teach Damien. The kid constantly argues his own method is way better since the magic spell actually works. But Chenbi desperately tries, explaining that the stabilization formula is actually crucial. Furion practically screams in sheer frustration, realizing he has entered a completely different kind of hell. He knows Damien is a total prodigy, but he is the annoying kind of genius who completely ignores basic common sense. You and I both know this makes no sense. The spell absolutely should fail, but somehow Damien still manages to perfectly manifest it anyway. This massive headache makes him wonder how Asta is actually managing to teach Dahlia. Right then, Dahlia walks in, and Furion completely loses his mind seeing that Asta basically beat her to a pulp just for training. 1 full week flies by. Chenbi checks in with Furion about the graded papers, mentioning that every single thing he scored is flawless. Furion looks up, shocked, confirming it is exactly the same on his end. Even Damien is visibly stunned to hear he got every single answer right. Furion is completely overwhelmed because Damien smashed his expectations in 1 week, hoping Asta is doing just as well. Meanwhile, Asta is spying on Evelyn's loyal lackey. Asta's hands are itching to thrash the guy, but he knows he must wait until the actual seller shows up. He considers ruining Debay and Evelyn's little scheme right there, but realizes other corrupted buyers would just purchase the exam papers anyway. A few moments later, Debay finally reaches his designated spot, but first, he has to bypass a tough bouncer. That evening, Debay returns to Evelyn's room to hand over the acquired materials. After a quick check, they confirm it is the real deal. Evelyn then turns to her mysterious assistant, stating they will keep giving Debay more opportunities. Hearing this, Debay smiles like a fool, truly believing his family will finally respect him. Evelyn coldly dismisses Debay, telling him to leave immediately. She promises they will contact him again the second they verify all the stolen files are intact. She casually adds that Debay will now handle distributing the exam papers to clients, which the idiot gladly accepts. The second he leaves, her sweet smile turns sinister, openly mocking Debay for being such a gullible idiot. She asks her assistant if his assigned task is on track. He confirms it is, revealing that in a few days, every single shady job Evelyn touched will be pinned entirely on Debay and the Ping Groove Trading Company. Evelyn orders him to ensure it goes perfectly, since making Debay the fall guy is his only purpose. But here is what they do not know. Asta heard everything. Trust me, karma is coming for this rotten girl. Stick with me here. You and I are about to see Asta pull off the ultimate mastermind move. He needs to totally crush Yvonne's scheme, but also forcefully guide her onto the right path so she never pulls this stunt again. Sure, he caught the entire crime on a crystal orb, but Asta knows dropping that evidence right now? A total waste of potential. Honestly, he's a little conflicted. The guy is totally used to just smashing his problems into dust, but brute force won't actually fix this situation. Then bam, a brilliant idea hits him. The absolute perfect strategy to forcefully drag Evelyn kicking and screaming down the path of justice. Asta immediately grabs the leaked exam papers and starts furiously copying every single detail onto a fresh sheet. He's actually pretty amazed by his own penmanship. Turns out, aggressively forging handwriting back in his childhood is finally paying off. He never expected to resurrect those shady skills for an academy exam, but hey, he's incredibly proud of the flawless results. With the forgery complete, he whispers a promise to the absent Evelyn. She is about to become a very, very good person. Meanwhile, Dahlia finally has her own breakthrough. She completely grasps what Asta was teaching her about the brutal power of the first strike. Soon enough, the agonizing exams wrap up. The halls are flooded with stressed students praying they didn't totally fail their answer sheets. But one specific student, Demon von Harrimar, Evelyn's prime cheating client. This guy is absurdly confident. He's actively strutting around, loudly boasting to his friends about how he absolutely demolished the test. Turns out, Demon is the eldest son of Viscount Harrimar, a massive noble family controlling the kingdom's entire main grain supply. Evelyn is absolutely thrilled. Thanks to those leaked questions, she just locked down an incredibly lucrative alliance with the kingdom's agricultural heir. And get this, she has 4 other high-profile cheating deals operating at the exact same time. Watch closely, because right now she thinks she scored the deal of the century. She is 100% sure she's untouchable. Suddenly, an examiner marches straight into the hall. He points directly at Demonin, ordering him to the director's office immediately. Pure terror instantly freezes Evelyn's veins. In the cheating business, getting called out means only one thing. The very next morning, absolute chaos hits. All first-year students are ordered into the Grand Hall for a mandatory emergency meeting. The crowd is buzzing with intense confusion. The innocent kids have absolutely zero clue why they were abruptly dragged out of bed. But the guilty ones know a massive cheating scandal just dropped. Evelyn is literally vibrating with panic. Terrified, they've tracked the entire operation back to her. She tries to stay calm. Impossible, she thinks. She operated perfectly and left zero traces behind. Could it be Debay? She immediately rejects the thought. Dubet might be incredibly slow, but he definitely isn't completely reckless. The strict examiner marches into the room, instantly barking at everyone to shut their mouths. He loudly announces that he knows the wild rumors are already flying. So he's stepping up to brutally clarify the facts for anyone still completely out of the loop. He drops the bomb. Several students were officially busted for massive cheating during the highly guarded first-year midterm exams. His voice drips with disgust, raging about how shameful it is to have this massive scandal ruin their elite academy. Boom! That instant confirmation sends shockwaves through the students who already suspected some shady underworld business was happening. The innocent kids realize the culprits are totally doomed, while Evelyn is practically losing her mind in absolute, paralyzing fear. He declares the ringleader was caught. Debay is instantly expelled along with 4 accomplices. Plus, the academy is forcefully demanding maximum financial compensation for all the damages. I know what you're thinking, but here comes the wildest twist. The faculty didn't catch them. An anonymous student with a burning sense of justice exposed the whole plot. He tells the shocked crowd that they are gathered to honor the insane courage of this heroic student. And then, he loudly calls out Evelyn's name, demanding she step forward. Evelyn's brain basically short-circuits in pure disbelief, as the entire hall suddenly erupts into wild cheers. Hailing her, she frantically stammers, trying to deny it, but everyone just praises her incredible modesty. They completely drown out her voice before she can even beg for her life. The cheering crowd literally shoves her to the front as the hero who saved everything. Evine's soul practically leaves her body. She is completely shattered by how wrong this entire situation feels. Meanwhile, Asta is chilling in the back, slow clapping for her. He silently urges her to embrace this righteous path forever, now that she's hailed as the ultimate champion of justice. Against her will, she's now viewed as the benevolent, absolute judge who crushes the corrupt. Fast forward 1 week, the official academy rankings finally drop, and an absolute stampede of anxious students rushes the giant notice board to check their grades. Damon and his entire crew are absolutely mind-blown to see his name sitting at rank 18. It wildly smashed past all their normal expectations. Asta just keeps his icy, unbothered stance. He bluntly tells Damien to look closer, pointing out that Demonin somehow still secured the 7th rank above him. But right on cue, an examiner marches over, loudly declaring they posted the wrong sheet. He steps right up and slaps the corrected test results onto the board. On the updated list, Damon jumps up to 16th place. He absolutely loses his mind with pure happiness. And that's where we leave it. Trust me, Asta is just glad Damien passed, because now he finally collects his ultimate prize, the legendary multiplication formula. Stick with me here. Chenbi is completely hyped over Damien's win, joking about his teaching talent. He says he might just stay in the advanced class after graduation to work as a teaching assistant. Asta hears this and instantly snaps at him to shut up. He didn't actually want to yell, but he lost his cool. Why? Because he honestly cares way too much about Chenbi's future. Asta warns him that an assistant recently got busted for cheating. The guy was so dead broke that he literally sold exam answers on the black market just to survive. Asta demands to know if Chenbi even realizes how long it takes an assistant to make professor. Chenbi mumbles about 3 or 4 years. Asta glares and asks who fed him that lie. Chenbi admits Pun told him. Then Asta gets serious, asking if he truly wants to teach. Chenbi nods, saying it seems rewarding. Chenbi nervously asks if Asta thinks he lacks the talent for it. Asta shakes his head. If teaching is his absolute dream, there is a way. He tells Chenbi to become an archmage, someone so unbelievably overpowered that nobody would ever dare question his authority. Smiling, Asta explains that once he hits that legendary archmage tier, he can train his students literally any way he wants, just like with Damien. That hits Chenbi hard. You can see the gears turning. This is exactly Asta's master plan. He is forcing his friend to aim higher. After seeing his crazy progress with Damien, settling for a basic assistant job would be a massive waste. Asta needs him to reach the absolute top so he can finally repay that life debt. Now pay attention here. 2 shady guys are having a secret meeting about ancient ruins discovered in the Hamlin forest, and it looks like a massive deal. Days later, the trio meets Lancancy for their reward. She casually mentions that the multiplication formula they asked for is not even that hard. Actually, she promises to hand over a totally high-tier formula. Asta is absolutely stunned. He definitely was not expecting that upgrade. Lankansi then turns to Chenbi. She did some digging and found out his family is struggling. She asks if he knows about the mess. Chenbi sighs and admits he does, but things are only getting worse back home. Lankansi drops an offer. House Blander can fix everything and give his family a much better life. Chenbi does not even hesitate to give his answer. He politely thanks her but refuses, saying he is fine. Lankansi worries she sounded insulting, but Chenbi quickly waves it off, promising no offense was taken. Instead, he looks her in the eye and says he just wants to stay Damien's friend forever. Damien actually blushes a little hearing that loyal confession. Lankansi is totally impressed. Chenbi then asks if he can request one other thing, and she tells him to go ahead. He asks if he could ever study magic at House Blander. He just wants to push his limits and see the wider world. Lankansi smiles, asking if that is really enough, and he agrees. Later, Gamu is brought to tears, realizing her son finally made a true, reliable friend. To reward him, she sends an official letter declaring that from this moment on, House Blander is completely backing Chenbi as his royal patron. Reading that letter, Chenbi practically stops breathing from pure shock. He totally breaks down, crying tears of absolute joy. Ultimately, the midterm exams wrap up, and everybody is hyped about their scores. You and I both know what this means. JRA just announced a massive combat tournament for the first years. All boring lectures are officially canceled. From now on, it is pure practical combat training. But here is the twist: how they train is completely up to the students. She clarifies that standard prep classes will still happen, but nobody is forced to attend. One confused student asks JRA what she actually means by their own discretion. She smirks, saying they can skip class entirely if they want. They are even allowed to head back to their noble houses to train. She tells everyone to relax, because top-tier professors will be running the prep sessions. They are literally bringing in a huge squad of grade 5 combat mages, officially certified by the Imperial Court, to help out. After the crazy announcement, Asta gets suspicious. Why change the combat schedule out of nowhere? He realizes the teachers are definitely hiding something. This sudden shift clearly came from the absolute top, not the normal professors. Later on, Asta receives a secret message directly from the headmaster, telling him to meet up at 8 p.m. sharp. That night, Asta heads over. And trust me, what we are seeing next is completely shocking. The headmaster actually set up insanely powerful barriers just to hide the old abandoned warehouse. Stick with me. The headmaster just turned this entire place into a private resort. Asta figures it is the perfect time to test that brand new multiplication formula. He brings out the ruby and starts pumping the formula right into it. And guess what? It actually works. The rubies absorb ambient mana, perfectly copying the original spell. But the magic power is still too weak. He is about to go completely all out when suddenly, the headmaster shows up, demanding to know what is going on. Asta is shocked, sure. But the old man, he is absolutely mind-blown by those rubies. He asks if Asta can actually cast magic with them. Asta just smirks, says yes, and drops a quick example that leaves the old dwarf completely speechless. The guy cannot believe his eyes. Storing unrefined mana inside rubies and then firing off spells with it? Insane. He starts screaming, asking about the range, but then quickly switches up. Forget the range. Where did Asta even find those things? Asta chills him out, promising to spill everything. But first, he needs a tiny little favor from the old guy. Because honestly, Asta just found the absolute perfect punching bag for his crazy new power. The headmaster gets cocky. He tells Asta that no matter how much raw power he throws, he will not even touch a single hair on his head. Asta does not even argue. He just gets straight to business, combining those rubies together until the mana hits an absolute boiling point. Now watch closely. Things get wild here. The headmaster finally realizes the danger and starts screaming, but Asta refuses to back down. The second the skill is ready, boom, he blasts the old dwarf. A massive explosion hits, though Asta actually thinks it is kind of underwhelming. When the smoke finally clears off, the headmaster is visibly losing his absolute mind. He screams at the kid, demanding to know who he really is and where he came from. He admits he knew Asta had pure mana for his age. But that attack? That was completely beyond anything the old man can even understand. Asta just shrugs, says he is just a normal guy. He literally asks the old man if he thinks some great demon possessed him or something. The headmaster snaps back. Asta's idea of an ordinary dude is completely different from his own, and he honestly wants to beat some sense into him. The old guy admits the magic was so weird that he can barely grasp the principle behind it. Then he demands to know where those red rubies vanished to, and instead of answering, Asta literally just flicks him off. Classic move. When they finally settle down to talk, Asta asks the old man why he actually summoned him here, and the old guy reveals it is about the Great Forest. But before explaining anything, he activates a magic orb on the desk to show what is happening. Asta takes one look at the glowing orb, and he is absolutely stunned. Pure fear is written all over the poor guy's face. As for the Great Forest of Hamlin, it has been untouched since ancient times because terrifying monsters rule it. But humans adapt, right? Even in this deadly place, they manage to survive. Still, only top-tier elite mercenaries can actually operate in there. You and I know those guys are tough, but the image shows these elite mercenaries literally trembling with fear. Why? Because they are facing the undead, but not just the regular kind. These monsters move by pure soul energy, not memories, which basically means they are entirely self-born undead. The headmaster drops the bomb. A terrifying monster known as the Destroyer, sealed deep inside those ancient ruins, has finally broken free. Apparently, endless vengeful spirits are crawling up from the shadows right behind the Destroyer. The situation is insanely urgent. The problem? None of the old man's disciples can pack up and leave on short notice. He tells Asta that someone needs to head out in exactly 2 days, absolute maximum. He asks Asta what he thinks. He even promises that if Asta says no, he will not take back the sweet rewards he already handed over. Just consider it a free gift for the younger generation. Of course, that means 0 extra rewards for this crazy mission. The headmaster makes it crystal clear. The whole thing depends on Asta's choice. Bribing him with shiny loot will not work when so many innocent lives are literally at stake. He is still warning the kid to be careful, but Asta just cuts him off, casually saying he is completely open to going. The old guy is completely stunned. But Asta explains he knows the headmaster is worried about his friend, a guy who clearly will not retreat, even if it costs his life. Asta admits he is no moral hero, but at the same time, he is not garbage who would ever bargain with another person's life. But honestly, Asta would have gone even if the old man banned him. He secretly believes the magic he wants to learn is inside that forest. No way is he missing this chance. Once they finally wrap things up, the headmaster hands over a teleportation ticket. Show that to the officials, and they will let him pass instantly. He also tosses him an awesome artifact cloak packed with protective magic. Asta teases him for giving away all his best stuff. And that is it. Trust me, you and I will want to see what happens next. Let us dive right in. The old man tells our guy to shut up, warning him that soon, it will be way too late to prepare. Then, he hands him a mask with a special mark, perfect for hiding his true identity. The headmaster explains that with this exact mask, his ally will not lose track of him in the shadows. He adds that based on the crazy battle results and the final exams, he will register everything under his own name. But he needs to know Asta's exact deal with House Blander. Asta waves it off, telling the old man not to stress. He promises to handle that mess completely solo. Next, Asta drops a quick letter to Chenbi and Damien. He is heading out to train, so they better not come looking. Instead of raging, Damon steps outside to grind his own skills. Later, in Greentown, right near the Hamlin Forest, Asta sits alone in a warehouse, plotting his next move. Meanwhile, the old man's trusted friend, Arn, is busy meeting with a local guide named Ray, hired to navigate the forest. Ray whines about being terrified of the woods, but Oberon reminds him about their strict escort contract to the 4th base camp. Plus, Ray already pocketed a massive 4-fold advance for the danger. Yet here he is, trying to back out completely. Rai smirks at Oberonor, teasing that he will literally never find another guide at this crazy hour. Playing the victim card, Ray cries that he wants to survive, since deadly monsters could easily jump them at any second. Deep down, Rai is just milking Orn for every single penny. There is absolutely no way he actually plans to enter that dangerous forest. His real plan is to ditch Orn completely, grab the cash, and go live like an absolute king in some quiet village. Watch closely, here is where it gets good. Asta suddenly drops into the room, face completely hidden by that mask. The two guys absolutely freak out, demanding his name. But Asta just flips it right back at Arn. Orn answers, and Asta immediately confirms he is indeed the headmaster's mentee. Knowing he is in the right spot, Asta coolly tells Oberon to just call him Senior from now on. The moment Rai realizes Oberon has backup, he tries to act smart. He offers them his map, suggesting they just enter the dangerous forest totally by themselves. He hypes it up, making the map sound like an absolutely priceless artifact. The completely clueless Oberon agrees, figuring he and Asta can totally manage the mission on their own. Ray thanks Oberon, smiling like a total scammer as he turns to leave. But suddenly, Asta barks at him to freeze. With an absolutely terrifying voice, Asta gives Rai exactly 1 second to sit back down. Ray is totally confused, but time is already up. Asta launches forward and starts beating him like an absolute drum. Pure chaos. Oberon watches in pure horror as Asta crushes the guy, wondering if this brutal masked kid can actually defeat the mighty destroyer. You saw this coming, right? Those two strange villains meet up again. They are at some bizarre location trying to completely break a magical seal, but the process is dragging on way longer than they expected. They are totally shocked the beast is still asleep, especially since its dark aura is literally choking the air with death. Knowing Asta is hunting the mighty destroyer in the forest, one of them volunteers to intercept our guy while his partner stays back to finish breaking the seal. Solon asks his buddy Kellogg if he can actually handle Asta alone. Kellogg just smirks, bragging about his massive kill count against elite mages. To him, Asta is barely even a blip on the radar. Asta's group heads deep into the forest. A heavily bruised Ray leads the way, having finally learned his brutal lesson. Oberon is honestly just thrilled things are running smoothly, since Asta showed up to save the day. With Asta fully covered head to toe, Oberon cannot guess his real age, but looking at his height, he figures they are probably peers. Apparently, Asta goes by the sick alias New Moon now. He is basically the ultimate problem solver when things hit the fan. Suddenly, Asta asks the guide to hand over his massive backpack. He offers to stash it inside his magical subspace since it looks insanely heavy. Rai quickly rejects the offer, claiming he needs those emergency supplies right on hand. He insists it is way safer to just carry it himself. Asta instantly realizes this snake is still planning to rob Orn blindly. But whatever, they are already deep inside the dangerous forest anyway. Just moments later, Ray feels something terrifying rushing toward them. He screams at Oberon to watch out. Suddenly, massive orcs riding giant wolves charge right at them at absolute breakneck speed. Ray completely loses his mind. They are nowhere near the second base camp. So what are orcs doing all the way out here? Oberon completely freezes in total fear. But before anyone can panic, glowing red rubies suddenly fill the entire sky. Asta commands Orn to pop a shield immediately. The second those savage orcs step into his range, Asta unleashes pure, devastating destruction. Trust me, as those rubies fly, you and I know these orcs are completely finished. Stick with me, we are diving right into the chaos. The attack hits, unleashing an explosion so massive Oberon and Ray shield their eyes. When the smoke clears, pure, utter destruction. And when Rai witnesses Asta's insane power, and he finally gives in, he activates his subspace, realizing there is absolutely no running away from this monster. Asta just nods, giving him the green light to use it. Moving forward, they bump into massively jacked goblins. Asta completely one-shots them. Asta is totally thrown off by how these goblins look. He wonders, did the destroyer mutate them? Ray steps up, suggesting they investigate the bodies, and Asta gives the okay. Taking a closer look, Ray points out the truth. These are Kenti goblins, monsters that usually hang around the second base camp. But seeing them way out here, it means one of two things. They are either expanding their turf or sprinting for their lives. Asta quickly calls it. They are definitely being hunted. Looking closely at their razor-sharp claws, which are caked in dirt and ripped tree bark, plus their absolutely shredded feet, everything proves they were sprinting away from a terrifying threat. Ray immediately votes for a detour. Taking a safer path makes sense, especially since these apex predator goblins always roam in giant packs around here. Watch closely, because this is where the tension spikes. Rai knows whatever terrified these beasts is pure nightmare fuel. He begs Asta to dodge this threat. Shockingly, Asta actually agrees. He hates dealing with random wildcards, so he decides they will play it safe and follow the guide's route. This move proves to Asta that Rai has killer instincts. Even with Asta's massive radar skills, this forest is totally jamming his senses. Yet Rai somehow maps out the perfect safe path through the chaos. Asta honestly has to admit this guy is way better at his job than expected. For now, he lets Ray take the steering wheel. A bit later, Rai announces they are super close. All they have to do is cross the massive, murky swamp right ahead of them, and boom, first base camp. But he tells them to chill and rest up while he scouts ahead. Taking a well-deserved breather on the ground, Asta notices Oberon shaking like a leaf. And honestly, fair enough. That little detour just burned an entire day of their time. Oberon panics, warning Asta that the clock is ticking. That monstrous destroyer is absolutely hunting them down. He insists they need to track the beast and end its life right now, before everything completely spirals out of control. The guy is drowning in guilt, but instead of offering a shoulder to cry on, Asta bluntly agrees with his guilt. He is a fighter, not a therapist, so why is this guy trauma dumping on him? Suddenly, Ray sprints out, looking absolutely petrified. He screams at them to run for their lives. The legendary ruler of the swamp is fast approaching. See, deep within this twisted forest, there is a literal nightmare zone. Locals simply call it the depths. This swamp ruler? It is an ancient, primeval beast born from that very darkness. Nobody has a clue why it abandoned the depths to claim these forest wetlands as home. Rai curses their rotten luck. Of course, this ancient swamp king decides to surface right now, after hiding for years. Asta casually asks if they can just walk around it. I mean, the marsh is massive, right? Surely there is a back door through this king's territory. You and I both know anime logic, zero chance of that. Rai warns that touching the water lets the monster lock onto their scent, hunting them to the world's end. Sweating bullets, Oberon asks Ray exactly how long a completely different route would actually take them. Rai shakes his head. It is nowhere near that simple, man. They are looking at a gigantic, map-breaking detour. That is exactly why guides risk their lives keeping this wetland shortcut completely open. But backing out right now, Ray drops the heavy truth. Taking a long detour will burn at least 10 solid days, and worst-case scenario, a full month. Oberon is floored by the timeline, but swallows his pride, knowing safety is the absolute only option left. Rai asks if he should start prepping the long way round, but Asta cuts him off. Nope, they are marching straight into the wetlands. Rai's jaw drops. He frantically tries to warn Asta about this beast, screaming that it has butchered entire armies of elite soldiers, mages, and knights. Asta just smirks, telling Rai he is completely missing the point. They are not just sneaking by, they are going straight in to kill the swamp ruler. Ray stares into his eyes, realizes Asta is dead serious, and just heavily sighs. Oberon jumps in, frantically waving his hands. He tells Asta not to risk everything for his sake, deeply grateful they even survived this long. Asta shuts him down instantly. Someone has to step up and exterminate this giant monster. He glares at Oberon. Is he going to freeze up like a coward against the destroyer too? Oberon stammers out some completely useless analogy, but Asta ignores it. The vote is locked in. Tomorrow morning, the king of the swamp is getting sent straight to the afterlife. Realizing Asta's stubborn mind is totally made up, Oberon nervously admits that he actually has a trick up his sleeve to help. Asta raises an eyebrow, asking if this guy was seriously just going to spectate before. And that's where we leave it, trust me. You are going to want to see this. Oberon finally steps up, revealing a hidden, unawakened power called Overclock. Stick with me here. This power pushes a target's hidden potential to the absolute breaking point. Asta instantly gets hyped about this ability and orders Oberon to spill all the details. Morning hits. Oberon wakes up early to prep for the mission, but gets completely caught off guard. Asta suddenly shows up, casually dragging Ray behind him. Turns out, Ray tried to run away again. Bad idea. Asta beat him senseless. Asta coldly asks which tree he prefers. Next time he tries running, he is getting tied up for the wyverns to snack on. Realizing Asta is dead serious, a terrified Ray swears he is totally done trying to escape. After grabbing breakfast, Asta is feeling completely geared up. He turns to Oberon to check if he is good to go, getting a nod. Classic Ray panics, saying he is definitely not ready. Asta just tells them to stay back while he handles the monster. Asta marches straight into the swamp to grab the beast's attention. One step into its territory, and the tracking instantly begins. Want to make the monster really mad? He slices his hand, letting fresh blood hit the water. Boom! A massive whirlpool erupts. The beast breaches the surface, towering insanely high above our main character like an absolute nightmare. Now watch closely. While the others shake, Asta stays completely fearless. Asta casually looks back at Oberon, giving the signal. Without hesitating, Oberon fires off his skill, unlocking Asta's hidden potential right then and there. Insane energy surges right through Asta's veins. For the first time in ages, he feels a pure, unrestrained sense of absolute freedom. The beast lunges. It thinks it scored a direct hit, but nope. Asta is already airborne, claiming the high ground in a flash. Asta actually thanks the giant beast. Why? Because now he gets to test his limits. Explaining this overclock skill, Oberon admits even he barely gets it. All he knows? It smashes through every single limit a person has. But there is a catch. He has to follow one extremely strict rule. Overclock only lasts for 5 minutes. Anything past that, deadly. He has exactly 5 minutes to end this fight completely. Standing face to face with the ruler of the swamp, he sparks up multiple magic circles. 5 minutes? That is plenty of time for him to have some epic fun. Asta blasts intense fire magic, completely engulfing the beast in flames. It burns so hot, the fire literally ignites on the water. Oberyn and Rey are completely stunned. They are watching flames burn straight through a watery swamp like it is nothing. Rey's jaw drops. The massive monster is already cowering. It looks like Asta might actually wipe this thing out right now. Suddenly, Rey spots danger. He screams at Asta to watch out. The beast is gearing up for a massive roar. But it is too late. The monster unleashes a roar, and the blazing fire magic vanishes. Asta quickly realizes the truth. That deafening roar actually disrupts the natural mana flow completely. Honestly, he is not even surprised. He expected nothing less from the legendary swamp ruler. Rey screams again. He warns Asta not to stare into its eyes. 3 seconds of eye contact will completely freeze his mana core. I know what you are thinking. Why share such crucial info right in the middle of combat? Turns out, Rey has always been terrified of the Swamp King. Disrupting mana and freezing magic? That is an absolute nightmare combo. On top of that, its thick hide can casually repel a high-level knight's ether aura. This is exactly why Rey's old master warned him. If you see the king of the swamp, just run. Do not fight. But instead of running, Rey clenches his fists tight. Looking at Asta, he actually believes this crazy guy has a real shot at winning. Asta glares back at Rey, promising they will definitely have a little chat later. Rey nervously agrees, but suggests surviving first. Since 3 seconds of eye contact is game over, Asta decides to handle that little problem right now. Asta launches himself forward. He directly strikes the beast's eyes with rubies. The monster shrieks in absolute agony, its vision totally shattered. The beast thrashes wildly in pain. But when it opens its eyes, Asta is already midair. Bam! Asta delivers a brutal body blow. He activates Collision Strike, sending shockwaves ripping through its flesh. But the beast somehow tanks it. Asta grins, admitting this monster is genuinely strong, but way too slow. Done playing games, he decides to end this fight once and for all. Smirking, Asta says thanks for the entertainment. He sucks in a massive amount of mana, preparing a brand new skill, Explosive Annihilation. The beast takes the hit. At first, nothing happens. Then it violently swells up and completely explodes from the inside out. Victory! The monster falls, and Asta crashes straight into the water, completely passing out. That is where we leave it. An epic win, but he's annoyed a mere monster pushed his limits. Alright, you and I are diving straight into the madness. Asta wonders what happens if he used this skill against Declan. Sure, Declan blocks it, but there is no way he gets out of that unharmed. It doesn't matter how unbelievably tough his force field is, this blast just tears right through. Asta literally calls it Explosive Annihilation for one simple reason: it absolutely vaporizes everything in its path. But here is the crazy part. Someone was hiding in the shadows, watching Asta's every move. The spy? Kellogg himself. And he is completely mind-blown seeing Asta actually take down the ancient beast he specifically planted as bait. Especially since Asta just threw down in a pure brawl, straight up destroying the monster's eyes. Kellogg seriously questions if Asta is a mage, but then second guesses it. The amount of mana he is throwing around is just way too high. Then again, his fighting style definitely doesn't scream martial artist. Sure, Kellogg could kill the beast too, but he is genuinely impressed right now. Honestly, Kellogg actually felt real fear watching that absolute massacre go down, and bursts into a maniacal laugh because the thrill of the hunt is kicking in. Then it hits him. Asta feels like a fellow hunter, making Kellogg wonder how he measures up against another predator in the wild. Now pay close attention here. Knowing the insane danger ahead, Asta realizes he needs better prep. Later, he wakes up, asking Oberyn how long he was out. Oberyn is genuinely shocked to see him conscious so fast, revealing he was only out for 2 hours. Groaning, Asta mutters that his head is spinning. Oberyn calmly explains it is just a nasty side effect from getting hit with overlock. He tells him not to sweat it. He intentionally kept the skill's duration super short, so the physical strain should be pretty minimal. Still, he is probably going to feel like pure garbage for the rest of the day. Honestly, Asta feels like he is on his deathbed. His hands are still violently shaking. He knows he would have totally drowned in that swamp without Oberyn and Rey stepping in. Then he notices Rey is completely missing, and he asks where the guy went. Right on cue, Rey pops out from the bushes, telling Asta to relax. He is totally done trying to run away from them now. But Asta just completely shuts him down, demanding to know where the heck he went. Rey nervously admits he was just checking out the dead swamp lord to see if there was any valuable loot. He asks Asta what his plan is for the monster corpse. Asta bluntly tells him to just take it all as payment for saving his life. He even tosses him a subspace pouch to carry the massive load. Hearing this, Ray absolutely lights up and thanks him. Asta is just handing over one of the extra pouches he looted from that black market dealer earlier. You and I know that Swamp Lord Corpse is worth a massive fortune, right? So Oberon naturally asks Asta if he is totally sure about his decision. Asta just shrugs it off. He has zero use for the corpse, and Ray obviously needs to make a living somehow. Oberon is completely blown away by this answer. He immediately assumes Asta is just this super noble, kind-hearted guy looking out for others. But Oberon could not be more wrong. He has no clue that Asta has a very specific, secret reason for abandoning that monster corpse. Normally, its hide and fur are legendary for blocking ether. Craft a robe out of that, and it easily sells for an absolute premium. But there is a catch. Sometimes those rare materials completely lose their properties once the monster dies. That is exactly why Ray's basic blades slice through its tough skin so easily, though the guy doesn't even realize it yet. Basically, the corpse is just a pile of junk. Oberon asks for the plan, and Asta replies they are way behind schedule. Ray chimes in, pointing out that they technically still have another day to just rest. But Asta has absolutely zero interest in resting. He wants to keep moving. Later that night, they hit Base Camp 1, and Asta immediately notices how totally pitch black it is. Ray explains the camp avoids lighting any fires at night so they don't attract deadly monsters. He then suggests finding the base camp keeper right away so they can finally get their sleeping quarters assigned. Asta asks what he means by base camp keeper. Ray explains it is essentially the mercenary group that actually owns the entire camp. Turns out, these guys take a greedy cut of the monster materials from every single mercenary staying there. To put it simply, they are just glorified bandits lording over the entire place like kings. Suddenly, a chilling voice cuts the dark, mocking Ray for boldly calling them bandits. Ray looks up, spots Base Chief Fixer on the watchtower, and completely freaks out. Even Oberon is totally intimidated by the guy's fierce aura. And apparently, this infamous mercenary group is actually called Aviat. Fixer jumps down from his post, landing directly in front of the group. He reaches out a hand to Asta. Our guy doesn't even budge until Fixer clarifies he is just trying to say a simple hello with a handshake. Asta finally grabs his hand, and immediately, both of them unleash a sharp burst of aura just to test each other's raw power. So what do you and I make of this guy? After their standoff, Fixer reveals he actually came out here to offer Asta a wild proposition. Alright, let's jump right into the chaos. He already knows they are heading to Base Camp 4, leaving Oberon completely confused. Fixer totally throws Rai under the bus, claiming the guy was loudly bragging about his master plan to scam some clueless mage. But honestly, he does not care about any of that. His only real goal here is joining their squad heading to Base Camp 4. Asta is totally stunned by this, but Fixer breaks it down if Base Camp 4 falls. Their home is next, so they need to fight. Asta actually likes the idea, knowing that having extra muscle is always a massive advantage. He is just about to agree when Oberon suddenly steps in, shutting the deal down completely. Even Fixer demands to know why he is rejecting them. Oberon firmly replies that the entire area around the 4th camp is basically a death trap now, and things are way worse than anyone thought. Fixer instantly fires back with heavy aggression, asking the mage if he is seriously denying them entry just because it is dangerous. Oberon coldly confirms it, and Fixer absolutely snaps, exploding with aura and calling him an arrogant mage. You and I need to watch this. Fixer completely loses his mind, asking the mage who gave him authority, since his sword is what kept him alive. Fixer makes it clear that while he might look like a cheap mercenary, he and his squad have things to protect and absolute lines they refuse to cross. At this very moment, Oberon looks incredibly stressed while Fixer keeps screaming, yelling that mercenaries have the exact same right to defend their home turf. Turning his back, Fixer says he expected way more from the headmaster's own disciple, but now he is just completely disappointed. He bluntly tells Oberon that his men will find their own place to crash, so the mage can just go get some rest. The tension in the air is super heavy, so Asta slips away to take a shower. Once everyone else is fast asleep, a freshly showered Asta decides to pay Fixer a late-night visit in his office. Fixer instantly asks what the kid wants, and Asta casually replies that he is just there to have a simple chat. Fixer talks down to Asta, calling him a gutsy little kid, but then Asta flips the script, asking the man his age. Fixer proudly says he will be 50 next year. Asta completely stuns him, revealing he actually turned 50 last year. Fixer obviously thinks this is a total joke, telling the guy to get out if he is just talking nonsense. Ignoring that, Asta casually points out that Fixer is definitely marching to the 4th base camp regardless of what anyone says. Since Fixer is absolutely dead set on fighting, Asta offers him a deal to come along, telling him to completely ignore Obern's orders. They are way stronger as a team. Fixer is visibly caught off guard, totally assuming the arrogant mage was the actual boss. Asta clears things up. Obern is literally just a figurehead. And Asta? He operates on a completely different level. I know what you are thinking. Why him? Well, Asta wants Fixer along purely because of that insane aura he unleashed during his angry outburst at Obern. That heavy aura proved he was a super experienced veteran, and finding knights with that raw power is incredibly rare. Fixer immediately realizes Asta just wants his crew as human meat shields, and Asta shamelessly agrees. The mercenary asks if this is a formal job offer. Asta smirks, reminding the guy that he is literally handing him the perfect excuse to join the fight. Fixer lays out his terms. He is sending the rookie recruits home and only bringing his hardcore veteran fighters. Asta gives him a little credit, saying it is pretty noble to protect the younger kids. But Fixer demands that Rai guides those rookies safely back home. Since he is a top-tier scout, he is even willing to trade his own squad's guide to make the deal happen. Asta raises an eyebrow, asking why he is overcomplicating things. Fixer brings up the terrifying ruler of the wetlands, admitting his personal guide just isn't skilled enough to bypass that massive monster. Asta casually waves it off, telling him the swamp ruler is absolutely nothing to worry about, leaving Fixer completely baffled. Asta asks him to use his brain. How did they reach the first base camp? If they took the detour, they would be at Camp 3 by now. Wide-eyed, Fixer asks if the legendary monster actually retreated, but Asta delivers the coldest flex, saying he already sent that beast straight to the afterlife, deeply shocking the veteran. Early the next morning, the hardened veterans gear up while the rookies pack for home. Asta checks if Fixer sent a scout to verify his story, getting a firm nod. This is the payoff we have been waiting for. They confirm the swamp boss is totally dead, making Fixer question Asta's real identity. Asta keeps it ice cold, simply calling himself the employer and asking if the old man is finally ready to move. Fixer agrees immediately, just making Asta promise that the young recruits will make it out alive, and our boy swears to it. When asked what his actual orders are, Asta repeats his savage demand. He just needs strong men to act as literal cannon fodder. He adds that once this mission is over, Fixer is completely free to leave, and the veteran accepts the terms. Asta finishes by telling Fixer to drop the polite talk. Sure, Fixer might be 2 years older, but out here, that means absolutely nothing. Alright, stick with me here. You and I are jumping right back into the madness. Fixer just stares in absolute shock. He refuses to believe Asta is 2 years older, thinking this kid is some ancient mage who chugged a rejuvenation potion. Just then, one of Fixer's guys runs up, reporting that their preparations are totally finished. Fixer barks orders, demanding everyone get into formation immediately. They absolutely cannot keep Asta, their VIP employer, waiting around. Once grouped up, Fixer splits the squad. The seasoned veterans will push deep into the deadly forest, while the rookies guard the outside perimeter. He hypes his crew up, roaring at them to protect the legendary Aviat name. Suddenly, everyone starts volunteering, completely pumped up for the mission. Fixer sees them acting like hyperactive kids and instantly snaps at them to shut their mouths. He glares at the younger recruits, making it perfectly clear he does not want to hear a single peep from them. Just move out. Even with his strict orders, the rookies hesitate to leave. Meanwhile, Asta is quietly watching this whole chaotic scene unfold from behind. Rai suddenly pops up, asking Asta if it is true that the famous Aviat mercenaries are joining them. Asta just nods, confirming the news. Asta sarcastically asks if he is totally deaf. Rai ignores it, pumped because these elite monster hunters guarded the camp for 200 years. Hearing that massive reputation, Asta realizes these guys actually know exactly how to win. Rai brags a bit, claiming no monster is a real threat to him anyway. But he admits having these elite mercenaries around is still going to be a massive help. Asta seriously hopes he is right. He then turns to Rai and Obern, asking if they have already finished packing their bags for the trip. Obern quickly confirms he is totally packed. But Asta brutally teases him, joking that a dead man does not actually need to pack luggage anyway. Rai instantly yells at Asta not to jinx them, but then he practically begs Asta to take him along if they actually survive this mess. Asta easily sees right through it. The dude is making a huge gamble with his life. But honestly, Rai is not getting a better lifeline anywhere else, assuming he survives Declan, of course. So, Asta just shrugs, telling Rai he is free to do whatever. Rai breathes a sigh of relief and thanks him, swearing to do his absolute best. But he draws the line at literally selling his soul. Right after that, Asta meets back up with Fixer, who suddenly asks for a massive favor. He needs Asta to persuade someone. Asta raises an eyebrow, asking who this mystery person is and where to find them. Fixer quickly reveals they are at the second base camp. He desperately wants Asta to head over there and convince the camp chief, Hollig, to join their dangerous upcoming operation. Fixer adds that even if Hollig refuses, they really need to borrow his vice chief. That guy is an absolutely brilliant tactical genius on the battlefield. Now pay close attention here. Meanwhile, over at the second base camp, those guys are completely packed and ready to escape to the fourth camp. Hollig's vice mentions they still need to clear out the facilities. But Hollig casually waves it off. If some trash goblins move in, they will simply take it back later. Deep down, the vice chief is sweating. That confident plan only works if they actually manage to come back alive. Hollig suddenly gets super philosophical, sighing that everything feels like pure vanity. He honestly thought becoming the big boss would bring him absolute satisfaction. Staring off into space, Hollig tells his vice he actually wants to die quickly. That way, the vice can take his seat and understand this empty feeling. The dude immediately scolds him. He demands that Hollig stop making these dark, depressing jokes out of nowhere. He really hates seeing his boss act so weirdly out of character. But Hollig just smirks, calmly stating that he is acting like this because his time is finally up. The vice freezes in absolute shock. The terrifying reality hits him. Hollig is planning to stay behind and join Fixer in the suicide mission. He screams at Hollig. The destroyer is not something you just casually mess with. It is not even fully mutated yet, but it is already corrupting the entire forest. He desperately asks why a guy like him is willingly jumping into a death trap. This reckless behavior is completely the opposite of his usual self. Hollig just looks at him, asking what kind of person he truly thinks he is. The vice angrily replies that he is someone chasing big payouts. You see where this is going, right? Hollig smiles, declaring every elite warrior will be there, making this epic clash totally worth the risk. Even hearing that hype, his vice completely disagrees. He practically begs his boss to reconsider this madness. He points out that their men are already terrified and ready to run. Hollig just needs to back down and head safely to the fourth base camp with them. Hollig stares right through him, bluntly stating that his vice is just terrified of dying. The dude honestly admits it. He has zero intention of meeting his ancestors anytime soon. Then, Hollig drops an absolute bombshell. He orders his vice to officially become the new chief. He wants him to sit in the big chair at least once, giving him full authority to run things however he wants. The guy just stands there, completely paralyzed by shock, as Hollig officially crowns him the brand new boss of the second base camp. He even tells him with a smile to rename the whole camp whatever he likes. But this touching farewell violently shatters. Suddenly, a monstrous, strange arm brutally impales right through Hollig's chest from behind. It is Kellogg! He laughs like an absolute maniac, screaming that he is sending Hollig and his squad straight to the afterlife. The vice shrieks in pure horror, but to save the new chief, you and I just witnessed a true legend. Hollig uses his final strength to kick him safely away. You see this? The new chief watches Kellogg brutally execute his former boss. Hollig's dying breath? Survive, because he is the brand new chief now. Trust me, you and I absolutely need to see what happens next. That wraps up today. Drop a comment for part 2. Stick with me for this wild journey. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell.